Happy Thankoween, Miss, and happy Friday. Welcome to the time of October to December where it is a hodgepodge of holidays and you can eat, like, when you have a plate and you can mix all your food together, you can eat it one at a time. That's, I think, how I'm going to treat these holidays from now on. So welcome. We do this every single Friday. We do a juicy live stream reading where we ask a juicy question of the universe. We blend our energies together and we typically have a good time and we do a little self-work and exploration and have some fun, have a relax. So today our juicy question is, what are their intentions? So we're going to try to get a little below their actions, pull back the onion a few layers and try to understand what their intentions are. What is the ripple, the start of like a ripple that has kind of rippled out into someone's actions, or maybe might ripple out into someone's actions. We're just going to try to understand the people and the world around us a little better. So we do have an anchor card. I'm going to throw that up there. And this is not one of the piles for you to choose from. This is just, sometimes an anchor card comes out. It's kind of an energy that anchors the reading, and it's a common energy in all of the piles. And I believe that we read the cards together. So this way you can get a good look at this. Any feelings that are kind of coming up, you might see this in your mind at a certain point during a pile, or just remember like just the concept of the unseen. It might just come to the forefront. So just get a good gander at that. Or something might stick out that's never stuck out about it before. Okay, so hello. Thankoween, Mrs. Okay, so I'm just going to throw up the pile selections now. So at the bottom, we've got the 3 piles. Pile number 1 is the shadow. Pile number 2 is the shaman. And pile number 3 is the heart. So if you haven't already chosen your pile, now is a good time to do that. However you usually do that, we just like to take a moment of complete silence, allow our energy to drop, allow the gaze to turn inwards, and connect with the part of you that is deeper than the ego, deeper than ideas, concepts, how you align over here, how you align over there, the laundry list of things you have to do this week, any fears or stresses. So we can just do that now. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and be drawn into whatever pile or multiple piles you feel drawn to. Oh, babe, I think I left the window open in that room. Alex?
Huh?
I think I left the window open in there. Oh, okay. Always fun when we see. Okay, so if you're ready, then I'm ready. Let us go to pile number 1, the shadow. So, Spirit. Actually, let me just back up here really quick. Before we get into this, I do just want to say I talked a little bit about reading the feminine Mystique at the end. So I just wanted to say that I will be doing that. It's kind of like a book club. If you want to stick around at the end, like after the general messages, or we kind of have been doing this in place of the general messages. So I guess we'll see like kind of whenever we get there. I started reading this. I've never read this before. So if there's anything weird in here, we'll cross that bridge together. But I started reading it and it was like very interesting, but I just kind of started feeling out of nowhere, like just very interested in this book and like kind of a calling to read it. And we'll talk more about it, I guess, like whenever we're reading it. But I did just want to let you guys know that we'll do that towards the end of like the whole reading. If you kind of come in and out, then just if you're interested, then we'll be doing that later. So okay, so pile number 1, the shadow. Okay, I'm actually already getting a lot here that is coming through. I feel like there's a process that's unfolding here with this group, but I'm hearing the word tension very strongly. So I feel like this group, you're maybe asking about someone where there's been some tension, but I'm actually hearing, instead of tension, I'm hearing like contention. And I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between tension and contention, but I think it's like, I'm hearing kind of like contest, like, so contention is like I contest or like I disagree. So there is some kind of tension here, but I feel like maybe you disagree with this person or this person has disagreed with you on like some kind of take here. And I'm not sure what side of the coin that you are on because I'm more picking up of I'm hearing dyad and I'm hearing like a dynamic. So I feel like there's some kind of dynamic between you and this person that has you questioning this person's, I just heard like their traditions or their methods or their conclusions or their intentions, because there's been some kind of tension or there's been some kind of contention that has arisen. And this contention is actually born of the intentions of the situation. It's not necessarily born of actions, because I think there's something about the actions in this dyad relationship situation that kind of, if you just sort of take them as face value, you kind of maybe would think that you are more on the same page with this person or that they're on the same page with you or that you're kind of moving in the same direction or that things should flow smoothly, because those aren't exactly the same things. All the things that I just listed that, oh, well, if we're on the same page, then things should flow smoothly and we should always agree with each other, or like my take on something. That shouldn't always be the case. And I feel like that's kind of being illuminated here. And I think that it's actually very productive that you are asking this question of yourself and of this person, like, I think you're maybe starting like with what are their intentions, but I think this is a good opening for like, well, what are my intentions and where do they differ? Because I feel like that's where there's been some like butting of heads or some kind of tension or some kind of contention. And maybe some of you are waiting to kind of hear what their intentions are, or, okay, my ears just started burning. So maybe like you want to know what they've said about you or what they're saying about you, or maybe something that you've heard. You're wanting to know what the intention was behind that before you make any moves. But I think your feathers maybe feel ruffled, or you know that you had to say something where you disagreed with this person. But, and maybe you're like, well, I don't know, like maybe the fact that I had to clarify or something, how did they take that? It just feels like it's been revealed that there is a difference here. But the difference is on the level of intentions. And I think maybe on the surface, it looks like the intentions are the same. And I think the intentions look like, let's get to the bottom of this. Like healing is what I'm hearing, or like, let's get to the bottom of this. But see, this is where things get kind of weird. And I'm not saying that it is healing, but I do think it's something like, let's get to the bottom of this, or let's cooperate, let's have a relationship, or, you know, something here. But there's something here that feels very cooperative or very unifying as like the broader goal here in this dyad. And I do think that's true, but I think that there's some disagreements about what needs to happen practically in order for that to happen. And I actually don't think that these two people are on the same wavelength in regards of that. And I think I do mean that energetically and spiritually, because they're in like two very different states. Now, again, I'm not entirely sure which one of these people that you are, but I am kind of getting this divergence here. And my brain wanted to say convergence. Con, that prefix con is coming out con. Maybe some of you are wondering if you've been conned, or if this is like some kind of con, or like I just heard like a long con, or convict. I just heard a con in my mind, convict. So, you know, like if you're wanting to convict this person, and I'm not saying like in an actual court of law, I just think in your mind, like you're trying to kind of weigh out, like, what are you maybe guilty of here in this situation? And, yeah, there's something maybe like that going on. But so it's not a convergence. I think that maybe you're curious where your intentions converge. And I think that I've already covered that. Like there is some kind of desire, at least like the broadest desire is to cooperate. But there's a different desire here for one of the people that are involved. And this is the classic desire that's kind of hard for us to pinch down into and pull up out by the root. But that's kind of what's going on here, because I'm getting that one of these people is this like kind of light energy, this like illuminated energy, at least in this case. They have a shadow, but I think that they have done some integration work. And at least in this particular situation with this particular person, I don't think that their shadow or their shadow traits are active or operating. And for some of you, I think that this person, it's giving vacate energy. This is like the light bringer. This is somebody who has those traits, who is brave, who is kind of going into like the shadows here. And maybe even for some of you, this is like, a mentor, or this is maybe even like a therapist or somebody that like you've sought out for some kind of assistance. That's just for some of you, but for others of you, this is more of a complicated dynamic, which is why you're kind of like asking about their intentions. So somebody here has this light, and their intention here is to illuminate this space and to illuminate what is not seen. And it even could be something like, it doesn't have to be psychological or spiritual. This could be so practical and mundane. This could be like, I don't know, say somebody's having like money troubles and they go to a financial like advisor or like person who is supposed to like help them figure out what's going wrong with their finances, and say that this person who's looking through it discovers something that this person wants to kind of keep hidden because they're, I don't know, embarrassed about it. Say that it turns out this person has some kind of addiction and that's where their money's going. Like to that, it's, if they could get that under control, probably everything else would, calm down. And if that person has to kind of illuminate that, then I feel like there's actually some contention here, because this other person here who's like in this shadow energy has an investment or an interest, or they have some kind of motive to keep something hidden from themselves, from this other person. And this could be on whatever level. For some of you, this is an actual secret. This is something very pragmatic in the 3D that they want to keep hidden. They don't want you to find there's the bottle that they hid in the vent or in the toilet, or they don't want you to find that. They don't want you to discover it, but they want to give an image here. And this is where I feel like this person is split, because they're not exactly a bad person that I'm getting here. Like this person who wants to remain hidden, I'm not exactly getting that they're a bad person, because I think that their actions have shown that they're in the right place, seemingly for the right reason. But I think it's like to a point for this person where they're like, no, I want a how-to video. I want some tips and tricks on a surface level as to how to get myself through. I don't want to do deep work. Not really. I think they might say that, but it's maybe because they don't understand what that is, or they think that they can just kind of they can control proceedings and kind of get what they need out of the situation. And I'm hearing like that would get them out of some kind of moral conundrum, because this person who is in shadow energy, their intentions get a little difficult. And that's where the source of the contention here is in this particular situation. Their intentions get a little harder to read, because this is a person that's fragmented. They're split, and they are in an ego state of consciousness. They are living in their ego. Well, what's the ego? What do I mean by that? So, in Freud's theory, like id, ego, superego, and the ego sits in the middle, and it kind of arbitrates between the id, which is our lower self. It's the part of you that just wants what it wants. It's very animalistic. It's kind of run by instinct and impulse. And the superego is the part of you that sort of knows better, and it can like appeal to higher ideals, and it can think outside of just itself, just what's good for itself. And the ego balances out between the two. It kind of negotiates between the two. And that's where I'm seeing this person is in a fragmented state of consciousness. And it just depends on how deep this goes. And usually it goes pretty deep, because the ego likes to protect us from having to confront that we are actually in some kind of conundrum, moral quandary here, where there's something here where this person does, I think, on one level want to just live in darkness. They want to live in ignorance because it doesn't feel hard. It doesn't bring about some kind of identity crisis. Who am I? And where is my allegiance? What do I want? Because so they keep it kind of split. We're on the one hand, and I feel like whenever somebody here is engaged with this person who's like kind of bringing the light, or engaged with this activity, because it's very Mars energy actually, kind of, and here I'm getting the purifying energy of Mars, because Mars does mean action. And when Mars is healthy, it can be like just this purifying energy that churns, and it brings in moral clarity is what I'm getting. And so they also may have acted in a way that was impulsive. Id is what I'm getting, inappropriate, but they can't deal with that. This is a person who can't deal with that, because who knows why, it's just not the way that they think of themselves in their mind as being like more nuanced than that. Because I think that they maybe have been indoctrinated into some super ego things. And I don't mean indoctrinated as a bad way. I think that they have moral concepts, of what kind of a person that they are. But I think that they've given into an id impulse, which is very human. But instead of looking at that for what it is and saying, I was not necessarily wrong here, but I was driven by impulse. I was selfish. It was reckless. It wasn't in alignment with my super ego. It wasn't in alignment with my morals. Instead of doing that, their ego kicks in and says, right, this is going to be too destructive for you to look at. You can't really handle it. So it puts this person in a dangerous state for others to interact with, especially light bringers. And this is where this person can lash out. And I'm hearing like condemn. And this is also a person who, because misuse like psychological concepts or any concepts that you try to bring into this space. And it feels like those concepts would be scorpionic. So for a lot of you, it could be psychological concepts. And I do think that regardless of what's going on here, there's a certain level of trying to share that, trying to illuminate and trying to say, here's what's going on beneath the surface psychologically. Like I'm even doing it right now where it's like this person is kind of stuck in this weird, like, well, I do want help, but also like, I don't want to be seen. And it starts, this is why people say that healing starts with self-love, because it starts with you being able to hold your own hand and say, well, yeah, I did do that, but I'm still worthy of love and I'm still figuring my shit out. I'm not making excuses for that. Oh my God. I just heard, so if you can't be good, then just be better at it. That new Taylor Swift song. Ugh, what a trash take. What an absolute garbage take. So no, being an adult is being able to admit that there are sometimes things that you have to say, no, it's wrong, and you can hold yourself accountable or not, right? And as I said that, like I just felt tears. So I feel like, yeah, for some, this is kind of a matter of growing up. It is kind of a matter of maturity, but it's not just that, because there's a lot going on here that's very human, that is very like in the mind, in the psyche of like, it's hard for me. The image that I have of myself, especially as I feel like somebody here, like they grew up in some kind of religion, that there was some kind of standard. I do actually think that this person grew up in a family or something where there was some kind of standard for their behavior. And then they were in some kind of situation, or they acted like in a way that was kind of impulsive, and they don't have a frame for that. And so I think that they might try to, it's not intellectualize, but it might be like whitewash some kind of behavior. And so because of that, they can't be honest, and they can't, and they're obstinate. They're absolutely obstinate and like kind of immovable. But like I said, this is a person who any information that you would share with this person, this is the person. And they're not a bad person, but this is the person who's going to misuse psychological concepts. Or like going back to my example earlier of like the financial example where it's like, okay, well, you spend a lot on a fancy powder, and it's causing you to not make the best of other decisions. So if they teach them like kind of financial principles, this is a person who is going to warp and twist that the intention of that knowledge, just the straight shoot arrow of that knowledge. They're going to warp and twist it to what? To justify and to be entitled, because there is an entitlement here to like some kind of behavior. And I think this is also the kind of person that they like, because there's some kind of moral tradition here, or like they understand principles and virtues, but they also, I just feel that they haven't found a way, this person, to maybe make a little room for themselves. And I'm not trying to go like necessarily too soft on this person, because they may well have done something here that is crap, and they need to clean up, and they are really never going to get anywhere with this unless they can start by taking accountability. I mean, this is classic, like, you can't heal anything unless you're willing to admit that you're wrong, unless you're willing to admit that you have a problem. I mean, what are we supposed to do? If you're going to sit here the whole time and just say, I actually know everything. Like, I actually don't have a problem, and I'm actually not ashamed at what I did. Like, okay, so nothing can move. Like, nothing can move. But this is also a person who will sit in that obstinance and then even try to reach around, and it's like, well, do you have anything to say? And it's like, no, not really, actually, because there is actually a base to this energy, and it's coming from this person. And I think kind of a part of it is that they haven't maybe quite figured out how to make space for themselves and also like live up to their moral traditions, because the moral traditions and stuff, they can be quite restrictive. And so this, you go through this kind of like I don't know, it's like an anti-hypocrisy fleshing out with like these moralistic beliefs where at some point, like, do you value yourself? And then what part of yourself do you value? Because it can't be this, like, I just do whatever I want and everybody else has to deal with it. Kind of like that's like sometimes the way that we speak about self, like in society, it's just in this like selfish. No, there's like actual self things, like, do you take care of your health, your time, your energy? Do you protect your time and energy? So I think that actually whoever's this light bringer energy may well, I'm kind of thinking about like therapists. That's kind of one thing that a therapist does in the background always, regardless of like what's going on in the room, if they're a good therapist, because there's good and bad people at their professions in any profession, but they are a healthy mirror, and they just mirror healthy boundaries and, healthy interactions and healthy speech and stuff. And so I feel like this is also maybe the kind of person who is, they would sit in a therapy session. They'd be like, well, what about you? Like to their therapist, what about you? Huh? What about you? Like maybe they wouldn't say it like that, but it's kind of like that. And it's like, this person can't put themselves in context. They don't understand how deeply defensive it is, because you're paying somebody, like in that scenario, it's like and I think there's something here, regardless of it, this is like, I think for some of you, this is involving something much more pragmatic, maybe money, maybe power. I actually think that that's kind of like, what this is about. But putting themselves in that context, it's like you are needing help sorting out a problem. You've sought out someone who has professional level knowledge, and you're paying them for their take on your life. It is absolutely not the other way around, for good reason. And so when you start bringing that up, you're not scoring a point or anything. You're just showing that you can't place yourself in context, and that you are being very defensive and deflecting and trying to manage the energy and the attention in the room. But it just feels like maybe with this person, if you start poking around where they actually need you to poke around, this person is just going to get defensive. Because they're not really ready to heal. This person hasn't, because they can't come to terms with who they are, and they can't come to terms with what they've done. So I think that's the other thing, is that I think this person is like projecting hard out onto this like light bringer energy, questioning their motives, questioning everything that they're doing and why they're doing it. And you seem kind of selfish and just blurring the lines, and really thinking that that you can't be well-intentioned or something. And I'm not even saying this is playing out on a professional level where like you need some kind of like financial advisor. This could be like parent-child, or this could be some kind of friendship or relationship or something like that, where one person is in like actually a whole integrated energy is what I'm getting in regards of this person and this situation. But I feel like maybe they're starting to see, like, because this to me looks like it was like all confusing, and then it's starting to kind of like clear and pop out of the shell. It's like the pixels are starting to kind of like create a cohesive picture. Like somebody here is like kind of starting to see. And I think it spooked them, so it's kind of working. So if you are trying to get somebody to see something here, because it feels like it's in a situation that you're not involved with. But I think maybe somebody was trying to get you on side. This is about, it's scorpionic stuff. And so you got to kind of watch this, because what we do, like I am a huge advocate for shadow work. My entire channel is dedicated for shadow work. If you do not require shadow work, I don't know why you're here. There's plenty of other channels that investigate the tarot for other things. Some people act like they don't get that in the comment section. They're like, why are we doing shadow work all the time? Again, the context thing, that's kind of like the context. But it's like somebody here, it's working. So if somebody here is like kind of pushing back, or all of a sudden like, or they're blaming you for stuff, like, it's because they feel raw. And I think like maybe somebody here would kind of know that or something, but I also think that maybe they've been shot at, or they've been blamed, or like some kind of knowledge that they tried to bring into the space, and they did it with a loving heart, like, and with the truly the best of intentions, but not just intentions. The intentions and actions for this like light bringer energy, they really are working in harmony. They really are like coming in together. There's no hypocrisy there, but there's plenty on this other person's side that they have to kind of get right. And what I'm seeing now is like, I'm seeing a pole, and I'm seeing like this person, like a rope, and it's like the rope is wrapped around the pole, and somebody's like pulling on like, why can't I get it past this pole? And it's like, you got to let go of one side and like let it come out the other side in order for things to kind of be whole here, and stand 10 toes down like on something. But it's like this person's refusing to let go of both sides. Well, I'm this and I'm that. And this isn't paradox. Right? And so if you've been on my channel, I love paradox. I feel like paradox, you really hit the sweet spot. You really hit the nail on the head, where it's like, yeah, see how that's kind of fitting together perfectly, but it seems like maybe it shouldn't. This person would think maybe they're in that territory. They're trying to convince themselves or other people, but really they're just in the land of contradictions. And contradiction is not the same thing as paradox. Paradox seems as though it should be a contradiction. And I think this person is trying, that's part of what they use. It's a very sophisticated way that this person has of like entitlement. I almost said justification, but Spirit was like entitlement. They feel entitled to be this way. They feel entitled to be both, and to not have to do the integrative work, and to not have to do this, to not have to confront their own hypocrisy here, because it feels very much like, there's a situation where they're not holding themselves to the same standard or something, or they've kind of like hit some kind of pay dirt. But I'm not talking about like necessarily externally. I'm talking about internally, of like really kind of drilling down into like why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think this person, kind of an issue with this person too, is that they focus way too much on the other people. So, we talk about this a lot too, is like you have to come up through the south node in order to go after the north node, and that makes it whole. The south node here, the bottom, the base where they should start from, is their own self-awareness and their own self-knowledge, which they are avoiding like the plague. This person is in hypocrisy territory. They're in split level territory, but they want to look at you and what you're doing. So that's ripe for projection. That's ripe for denial. And there's nothing here to check it, because this person doesn't have real self-knowledge. the self-knowledge that they think they have is I justify all the bullshit I do in regards of this like one particular issue at the very least. In regards of this one, because there's something here, and it might even be an addiction, but it's an addiction to maneuvering is what it is. It's like maneuvering and like staying in the dark, and it's an addiction to control and power, but I feel like that's not what it looks like. And so this person, I think, thinks that they fool more people than they actually do, because at the very least it'll be vibes. Like at the very least it's like, no, like I think they like, it's kind of giving, you know how like narcs, like they'll run off a lot of people in their life, and because of the way that they just like kind of behave, like this kind of behavior will run off people until they run off like the wrong person, the person that they don't want to. Then they're going to have to maybe get some help here, and they're going to have to actually look at it. And that's kind of them hitting the wall. That's them hitting the end of the line. And I feel like that's what they're kind of doing, where it's like this, I think that there's no, I think if this person was healthy, there would be no way of not seeing that this you is coming from you. But it's not a healthy person, but they have a good facade. They know how to maneuver. This is somebody who's just good at maneuvering, but they'll project all of that onto you. So this is why they say it's kind of best to remove yourself from these situations. But this would be strange because I feel like this person there's something here to do with actions, and like maybe even proactively seek something out, or this would be the person that wants to insert kind of healing terms and things that they don't understand fully. And I mean that in like East versus West kind of thing, because in the West, we tend to think like if you've heard something and if you've read about it, then you know it. But this is the word that really comes through the strongest for this person is hypocrite. They're just in a state of constant hypocrisy. So they don't know it deep down, because to know some kind of concept that they know and that they're trying to project in order to maintain their own like righteousness in the situation, if they took it all the way down, it would change them. This would be this scorpionic energy righting itself. Like actually orienting itself correctly, because this is oriented all weird and wonky, and it's pointed out towards other people and trying to control other people. So if it was pointed internally, this would be death energy, it would be phoenix energy, it would be transformation energy, but this person has just clung on to perverting this energy for their own gain, to warping and twisting it. And it feels like in a relational space, and the way that they come off in a social space, it's mask energy. But the scorpionic energy here, because I've mentioned this a lot, like sometimes Scorpios I read as Libras for whatever reason. That's kind of the energy that I'm getting here, but this person knows what they're doing, because Scorpios have very kind of intentional energy. Oh, I know what I'm doing. You know, I know the way that I need to come across. I need to come across fair and balanced. But it's in a very superficial way, because if you are actually engaging in balance where somebody here has done this, and so you know that in order for balance to happen, you're going to step on this scale, this person would be like, oh, I think you have not been fair. And it's like, really? Because I just righted this. This is also a person that maybe has quite a bit of privilege. And, you know, they say like whenever you're treated as an equal, so power dynamic is what I'm hearing, because they're used to a relationship they can kind of control. So when that's not flying anymore and somebody says, no, we're going to speak as equals, or if you're seeking out my advice, then yes, I'm going to speak to you like the authority, you know, or something like this, then this person that's going to ruffle their feathers, and they're going to construe what that is. And it's because they want to be in control, and they'll fluff you up. No problem. They'll fluff you up, but that's transactional. I fluff you up, and it's not from the kindness of this person's heart. You know, it's because they want control. They want to be able to take it away. And I feel like maybe they're dealing with somebody here who just kind of sees it. It's like, you can like me or you cannot like me, but the truth remains the truth. And if you're seeking out the truth, then that's what you're like from me. And this, again, it doesn't have to be a person who is like in some kind of professional capacity. If they're trying to solve a relationship problem in their life, and they're like, well, why don't you, I feel like there could be something going on here where it's like, I don't know, I don't understand why they won't talk to me, or like, I don't understand why they won't like me. And it's because it's useless. It would be absolutely useless. And it would be more useless to try to talk to a person like this than it would somebody who just owned the fact that they were an asshole. Because this is a person who knows the way that they need to present in order to appear righteous, because they view righteousness as a power. And that's bringing me back around to like, this is a worse problem than this person lets on, much worse. It's kind of rank, actually, like what's going on here beneath the surface. And they know it on some level, they know it, and they're afraid of it. But they need it to air out. They need to get rid of this like kind of fungus, like, you know, they need it to see the sunlight and everything. But like, it would be so frustrating to have a conversation, because this person would probably not raise their voice. They would, if you were to go out in public and have like a one-to-one conversation with this person, you're really, really risking reactive abuse. And I bet that's played out here before. Oh, you just want to play the victim. And this person, no, I'm really not. Like, give me a break. Like, that's kind of what it is. But if you speak like this to this person, give me a break. You're just over it. They're going to be, they want to use their faux manners as like to browbeat you morally, but that's not immoral. Like, stand 10 toes down on actual righteousness, and this person doesn't know how to actually act, but just because you are not meek and mild or in a codependent way towards them where they have the power, like, it's gross. This is kind of a really, really gross person. And like I said, I'd much rather be around somebody a little more gruff, but a little more real, who actually lives up to their principles and can admit when they've done something wrong than this kind of energy. Like, this just gets hard to kind of deal with, where it's like, this person knows all the conversational skill tactics. You still can't have a real conversation with this person. And somebody here knows it, or they're starting to see. They're starting to realize. And there's kind of no slowing that train. And I think for some, I'm hearing the word victim. Like, it could have been like their victim. Somebody here was like a victim of this person. But like, being a victim of this person isn't like, I don't think this person necessarily, I mean, they could. Like, I don't think that they leave bruises. I don't think they leave bruises. So this is like the king or queen of gaslighting, but they won't call it that. They'll call it their personality. They'll call it like, they really are acting like they are superior in some way, like, but they're not superior via their actions. You see what I'm saying? Like, they don't do the hard thing, and they don't speak with their hard voice ever. I feel like this person's an enlightened centrist. And maybe that's kind of, a political term. So maybe but it just feels like kind of annoying and obnoxious. Like, it feels like this person is an enlightened centrist, and they'll use that it's kind of like back in the day, people would, you've ever heard like there's no hate like Christian love, like, I grew up Christian. There's some good Christians. Okay. But you know exactly what I mean when I say that statement. There's no hate like Christian love. There's no hate like this enlightened centrist. There's no violence like this enlightened centrist take that this person has, where they're like, oh, well, we got to see both sides. But the problem is they misapply it. They misapply it in order to stay hidden, stay in the dark, stay in some kind of power or something. Like, yeah, that's what it is. I feel like this is some type of enlightened centrism, but all of it is just self-defense. It's just ego. They're in denial. They're repressing certain things. You couldn't actually talk about what you need to speak with in an honest way and have it at all feel cathartic or feel seen or understood. This person's actions definitely would not change into the long term. And they refuse to acknowledge that. But they want to speak to you with a certain voice. They want to talk to you like this and maybe talk to you about nothing important. And they want that to be a relationship. And if you don't want that to be a relationship, like, you don't value family. You don't value relationships. And you won't even have the talk, like the conversation. Like, I love you so much. Like, why won't you just have the conversation? And it's like, actually, in all reality, this is why this is so insidious. This person doesn't value family or relationships. They actually they won't even allow you the dignity to have like your own viewpoint, like on this person and their behavior, because they want to act like just because they're speaking like this and they're willing to talk with you at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday because you haven't abused them. It's actually been the other way around. And this person's so good at it that they just like kind of get away with it. And you always feel muscled around by this person. And like, they want to act like they have relationship skills or conversational skills when you've never had a real conversation with this person. Have you? You've never had a real conversation with this person, have you? And I bet you know people in your life that maybe speak with a stronger tone of voice or use more gruff language, and you've had a real conversation with those people. They've actually held your hand when you were weeping, or they understood your side, or they validated you. This person uses words, and all they use is words. But their actions, that's the split, that's the hypocrisy. They use words, and all they use is words. But when it actually comes time for their actions to back up the values and principles that they have, they don't do it. And instead of doing it, they take this weird enlightened centrist approach, and they use their words, and probably the words that maybe you taught them. Maybe some of you have been in therapy and you're like, well, I just don't feel like there's equality in this relationship, or however when you've gotten to the bottom of the issue and you've tried to figure out a way to say it that's like nice and doesn't have teeth, and you've removed all the emotion from it, and you've tried to like kind of bring it back. Like, this is a person who will warp that concept beyond recognition, where you're like, or they'll turn it around on you. Well, I don't really feel equality. And then they'll go off to say, because you didn't give them the upper hand, or because you didn't entirely cave. on Tuesday at 9 a.m. because you have an experience with this person that they don't have with you. There's been a power dynamic in this person's favor that they don't have with you, but it feels like they in your butt. They blow smoke in your butt. And they kind of dangle that as a carrot, like, well, I will reflect back that I like you, or they want to have control over your frame, the way that you are seen, the way that you see yourself. They want to be able to tell you that you are a bad person because you don't conform to the things that they want you to conform to, but it feels toothless. Like it feels like they just want you to be toothless. But and they act like they do that, but you know this person maneuvers behind the scenes and is like, you're not falling for it anymore. And this person, I think, is kind of running to the end of the line where spirit is like, enough with this. Okay, you've proven that you're slimy and manipulative. Good. You've proven that I don't know what you were trying to prove. Like you've proven it, but nobody wants to be around you. Or this person is not working anymore. And I think for some of these people, they were legit in the dark, like about their own behavior. They were, because this is kind of like, there's such a need for control. There's a need for manipulation, but there's also this sentiment with this person, I want what I want, and I'm going to get what I want. And for some of you, that's an addiction. It's like, I'm hiding the booze in the toilet. You know, it's like, and I'm going to lie to you because I feel entitled to do both. You know, I don't want to have to overcome it, but I know you want to overcome it. And I want you in my life. So I will tell you what I have to, but you've put me in this position is what they actually think. You've put me in this position. It's you. And so like really, if they were processing through it, I think that it'd be like, it's you. Like it would come out like, it's you, that contentious, like, and I just heard they kind of hate you. Like they love you and they want you around, but they kind of hate you for like standing up. And they do actually blame you for not being controllable, for growing past this, for deciding that you want actual fairness, because they actually think you're lying about that. I actually think that you're lying about that. And the last thing that I'll say here is this is reminding me of, I heard an interview with this Gen Z woman, very articulate, and she runs these kind of focus groups and stuff. And they were asking her about the difference between like young men, Gen Z voters, and young women, because they're actually weirdly polarized, like in their viewpoints, like strangely polarized. And she talked very eloquently about that. Like their algorithms are so different. If you were to look at like, you know, Gen Z men's feed versus a Gen Z woman's feed, like it's, you know, it's all very different. But, she was saying, what was I really wanted to make this, I really wanted to kind of loop it back in. Dang. What was I talking about? Well, anyways, I was going to make like an abstract kind of like loop around here, but maybe it'll come to me. I don't know, but it was like talking about meeting in the middle and how like hard it is to kind of meet in the middle and where, I don't know. Dang. Okay. So anyways, that's what I have for you guys. Pile number 1. That is this person's actual intentions. That is their actual intentions. They're not in charge of their intentions, really. It's, I think, kind of where I was going with that. There's like other forces here, but, that are kind of maneuvering, behind the scenes. And this is such a human thing. It really is. But you also can't get anywhere with it. And I think if you are this person that's like involved with this, it's about recognizing a dead end. Like, oh, you know, I really like you and you're kind of pleasant to be around so long as you get your way, and you get your way by lying and I cannot really trust you, you know, or whatever, or by managing control in some kind of way. But this is a dead end. I'm never going to be treated fairly here because you've got to get to the root cause of how you engage in relationships, which is from this weird source of power, but it's secrecy and it's about control and it's about the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing and haha, you can't see me kind of a thing. So, okay, that is pile number 1. If you are just joining us, you joined at a great time because we just finished pile number 1 and we are getting ready to move to pile number 2. And I'll just throw this up here. So pile number 1 was the shadow, pile number 2 is the shaman, and then pile number 3 is the heart, and the unseen energy up there, that is just the anchor card that goes into a little bit into every pile. I'm just gonna refresh my little chap. Pile number 1 is like the Riddler energy, always leaving you confused. Yeah, slippery character, pile number 1. A lot of times, that's true. This man functions well in society, and he's even found much success because of superficiality. He clearly has blurred the lines with reality and fantasy. Yeah. Okay. Pile number 2. Let's compassion, actually. Compassion. Compassion. I just cut my own bangs. Somebody sedate me.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, it's been that kind of a year. It's been a cut your own bangs kind of year. The shamanic girlies in the chat. Okay. Pile number 2. All right, spirit. For pile number 2, the person on their mind, what are their intentions? What are their intentions? Oh, look, King of Swords came out. That's an interesting energy to pair out with the shaman. There's healing energy here. Okay, this person's considering something, and they are actually considering it as deeply as they can. It does feel like it's on a mental level. I think for some of you, you've either reached out for this person, like even like energetically, or they want to reach out to you. It feels like a genuinely very sincere kind of pile. But it feels like somebody here has to take like some kind of leap of faith, or they have to take some kind of risk, and they're seriously considering about doing it. And I feel like that's their intention, is they're trying to see clearly. Okay, maybe this, it has to do with a blockage, but I'm also getting like, they don't know what's real. This person like doesn't know what's real. So they're trying to investigate. So I think their intention, their purest intention here is to investigate. And I do think this is a very mental person, or at least that's like kind of where they're starting. So they're maybe doing like, not that any of these things are bad. Like, you know, they might be doing a pros and cons list, or they're just like very cerebral, being very cerebral about this. What is this? Oh, look, Temperance and the Devil. 2 major arcana cards. The only other major arcana that came out is the Fool, which is like kind of at the beginning, you know? So this person, maybe they have a choice here. And I think they're thinking about, I don't know what's going on the surface of things, but the way it's coming through in the cards, which is like kind of that back end spiritual side of things, is like they're thinking about getting out of a karmic contract and actually like kind of elevating and leveling up. But I think this person is unsure as to like what is leveling up, like what direction, like what thing to kind of like lean into, because, oh, the High Priestess, another major arcana card, because their intuition. Okay, so I get it. This person they have this kind of, I actually feel, I like this person's energy. I don't know how you feel about this person, because there's a calling here. There's a calling. But I feel like it's through this predicament. And actually I'm hearing permaculture, and that might be relevant here. There's a tenet in permaculture that says the problem is the solution. Like the problem is the way. So I feel like this person has a problem. Oh, I just got goosebumps. I just heard thank you for that. This is like a psychic person, but I think they're like caught off guard by their psychic nature, or like by their intuition, because they're very smart. This is like a very smart person. But there's some kind of calling here towards like genuinely like a shamanic like way of being, which I view shamanism as like just being like very holistic and tapping into like more than just like their cerebral brain. And it's not that there's like, it's not that there's like overt opposition here, but this is a very smart person that kind of knows that you don't just fool yourself into any situation. You don't just like, just kind of jump in, belly first, nipples first, like, into any situation. You've got to notice how like sensitive, things kind of are. And so they're really, any opposition that this person has is like, how can I trust what it is that I'm seeing? How can I trust what it is that I'm feeling? Because I feel like this person actually has some kind of intuition, or they have some kind of like strong intuitive hit, but they don't know how to trust it, and they don't know if it's real. So they're going through this natural kind of exploration process. And it does kind of feel like, do you remember that like funny trend on the internet where people were holding their babies up to like see in places that they couldn't see, just to like stimulate their minds to be like, this is what's above the fridge, or like, this is So I feel like that's kind of what they're doing, is like, I've never been here before, and with this High Priestess, like they might even be looking for some kind of like solution. Like, can someone who's seen above the fridge tell me what's above the fridge? Can someone who's followed their intuition tell me like if that ended up, were you imprisoned, maimed, like how did this go for you? Kind of a thing. Because they are really wanting some kind of healing. And I think they're trying to grab the snake. And I do feel there's been a snake around this person that maybe they've involved with, and they might be in some kind of contract with. Like, they've gotten themselves into some kind of contract. Like it could be a business contract. It could be, I just heard in bed with. So it could be actually like, schmegdual situation at the very least. Or it's like, and maybe they've seen the snake in this energy, but I mean that on a lot of levels. Like maybe they've seen the temptation. Maybe they've seen the slippery, slimy smarminess of this person. Or maybe they have seen it's kind of like the Garden of Eden, like the snake in the Garden of Eden, but also I kind of get Jungle Book. What was his name? Ka? The snake there where it's like the eyes are all like hypnotizing and like he's getting kind of squeezed out. So I feel like this person they are fully capable. They're showing up as the King of Swords, regardless of gender. This person's showing up as the King of Swords. Like they're perfectly capable of cutting themselves free of whatever it is. And they know that, which is why they're kind of reserved, because they're like, I just need to double check. I just need to like make sure that like there's not like a weird gas leak in my home that's causing me to have these hallucinations and that what I'm feeling is actually like true, So it's very much that kind of person. I also think this person kind of likes a plan. They also may see you. And I feel like you are this kind of King of Wands person. So you could be actually really standing pretty strong in your masculine energy, or you've done something here. You've taken some type of like, I don't know, leap maybe for yourself. Maybe that was this like Fool energy. And it's definitely a different energy, right? The King of Wands versus the King of Swords. Like it's warm here. It's charismatic, or it's like attractive. It's like kind of something here. So yeah, like this feels like somebody kind of in charge of their own remit. It's kind of making me feel like this person doesn't feel in charge in some way, like in their own remit. And I'm getting that image in my mind of, I always get this, but remember Blackfish, the killer whale, like the documentaries of the killer whale, where we really as a society has like these conversations about whether or not we should be keeping killer whales in captivity, because they are huge, but like they also are very social creatures. And so I started going crazy in like their little sad fin. And I feel like this is a person who maybe seems like they're in some kind of strategic position, because this is a person who's like very kind of strategic. They kind of game things out, but logically, like of the mind. But they're sad. Like I feel like they have that kind of, they're not engaged with their power. Okay, that's what it is with the King of Wands, because they see you as being engaged with your power here. Yeah, and there's some kind of like justice, which I'm seeing the kind of like, this person has like a decision to make. They also might be considering something about the legal system, or like their position. I feel like they're considering their position, and it's very like the left and the right brain. They're like kind of weighing it back and forth. They're also maybe weighing their legal position here. Feels like they're not seeking out like legal counsel just yet. But I think they're not ready to kind of make a decision. They feel like they're at some kind of blockage here. And they might not know what's what. Like, okay, is this coming from my logical brain, or is this coming from my intuition, or is this coming from my impulsive energy? And by the way, like this is part and parcel with why certain things are so confusing. And it's also why I think it would be really helpful for us to learn psychology in school, like starting actually in elementary school in like age appropriate ways, starting to understand and really unpack our brains, to understand that you have like an id energy that's like very impulsive and it wants to do what it does, to know that you have an ego energy, to know that you have a logical mind, so that you kind of know that there are genuinely different voices in there that kind of like want different things and are looking out for you in different ways. And it's kind of a council, like the Inside Out movie, where it's like everybody's just kind of gathered around. So this person is anxious because they want something here. This is a person who wants something. They want to feel happy. They want to feel fulfilled. They want to feel confident again, but they're just not sure about an argument or a fight. I think this person may well know that they're in for a fight. And I think they may well know that whoever this person is, it gives them anxiety, because they kind of know that whoever they have to kind of like maybe have an argument with is not they were showing up as the Knight of Swords in reverse, and this person is the King of Swords. So they kind of know that this person is not as smart as them, but also they're kind of determined and they're kind of messy, and they'll just like kind of go with something. Like I don't think this person really respects this person's logic that's like maybe they would have to fight off, but they still know it's formidable and that it's aggressive and that it has no because I think this person, they would have logic principles. This is also somebody who it's like they would know about like ad hominem and red herring and stuff. Like they have very good logic. This person really genuinely does. And they have respect for like a good, solidly produced like logical argument. And this is how this person would approach whatever this next phase is, because it feels like they're at some kind of end of the road energy. And I think that maybe they've done a calculation. They thought maybe I could stay here, I could stay safe. But if their intuition is telling them something different, I think, that if they were to confront something here, it would release them from some kind of like karmic contract. And they would actually they would be in this temperance energy. Yes, they would have some kind of like major change in their circumstances or their situation. But I actually respect this person a lot, because this is not somebody who is going to, I don't know, like smell a fart in the wind and say that it's their intuition telling them to do something. Like, they're not going to do that. This is not a person who's going to do that. So they're not going to get confused that way. They are genuinely feeling things, but then they're exploring those things. They're not making some kind of snap judgment. Oh, that was my intuition. They're like, was that gas? Was that my id? Was that like, they're really thinking about it. They are. So they want to see clearly this maybe snake energy that either they've been a part of. So if this is them and they've been in some snake energy, which is true. I just heard it's true. And that feels very King of Swords. It's true. I feel like this person can admit that they've been like a snake, but they were also, I keep hearing that, like they were in bed with this other person that's not the best of people, but they're slimy and they made this person, they are the one that warped this person's intuition is kind of what I'm getting. Because this person kind of knows right from wrong, but I think this person, I keep seeing like the snake in my mind, like with his little tongue. Like, this person has just a good way of getting around this person's barriers in order to get them to compromise themselves is what I'm getting. I feel like this person's been morally compromised in some kind of way, and they know it, like where they did certain things that they knew not just were bad. They knew that it wasn't smart to do them because of this kind of, it feels almost like blackmail that somebody could have on you, or somebody could say, hey, you did this thing. Like you don't have this, okay, well now you want to stand up for truth, or you want to point to like this after you've already benefited in these ways, or after like we both know what you did. This person feels like they kind of are realizing in the past that a part of them was tempted because a part of them maybe wanted to go down a certain path. And I don't know what this path is, but it feels very much that they are intertwined with a serpent. I just heard serpent, boa constrictor. And that's what I heard, emphasis on that constrictor energy. But Spirit's trying to offer this person the Ace of Cups, and they kind of feel it. They kind of sense it, but they're going to kind of move slow, which I feel like is good. Okay, it may have to do with an Empress. So maybe this person becoming the Empress, because we've had actually multiple of the suits here, because we've had the King of Swords, we've had the King of Wands, and we also have the Knight of Cups, and we have the Temperance energy, which I'm kind of getting watery energy from. So like it's this person kind of wanting to be the Empress, like trying to figure that out regardless of their gender, like wanting to be that kind of whole growth. Yeah, and maybe it has to do with reclaiming. I just heard like soul retrieval, but also like maybe it does have to do with like a reunion or a reconciliation. So maybe this has to do with you, where this person knows that they were slippery in the past. They know that they were a fucking snake and they were very slimy, and that they were just, that they were greased up. Like I'm just seeing this person kind of just greasing this person up, and just kind of, it's so easy to slide around, now that you're all greased up, kind of a thing. They know that they were in that kind of energy in the past. That's the truth. I think there's something about the truth that they've used to kind of cut away from this snake. I also just saw them cut the snake in half. Okay, there's some kind of truth. I think it gives them a lot of shame. Whatever they did to you, it gives them a lot of shame. Whatever this person did to you, it keeps them up at night, is what I'm hearing. Because this is not a person who has to does. Okay, that stood out to me because they're the King of Swords, and I feel like there's something here where it's like, huh? Like, did you see that look on my face where it's like, has to does? Like, who speaks like that? But I think this person's thinking about something in the past. Maybe it is something that they said, like, why would I have said it like that? Why would I have done this, or why would I have done that? Or it could have been something that you said, and they're like, I put this person in a position where they had to kind of speak sideways at me to make a boundary, like to state like, hey, I feel like being moral and integral. I'm not a snake intertwined with another snake who's all greased up. I'm not, and I won't be. So, it's, this person has like shame. Maybe they have shame about a secret, or shame about some kind of truth coming out. And that could be maybe that they're involved with this person. Maybe it's a secret that they're involved with this person. So many major arcanas coming out. So it feels like this person is actually confronting a lot here, but they are confronting it. This is a person who is, what I like about this person, because I feel that they did something to you in the past, but this may have been genuinely a lapse of judgment, and it might have gone on for a long time, because it seems intertwined with a relationship that they had that in some way is binding, like contractual, like, so it's either it's either a contract, like an agreement, or there's some kind of secret here, or like messed up affair is what I'm hearing. There's some kind of messed up situation that they feel bound by it because like they're embarrassed. They should have known better and they do know better. Like this is, like they don't want it to get out, but it's also kind of not the entirety of who this person is. And they are on the same page with themselves, like internally, like unlike pile number 1 where they can't admit to themselves. And so that becomes your problem in a big way. And also that problem being your problem is never going to get solved because that person can't have the right conversation in the right way, but they're going to do a bunch of weird shit to make it seem like it. They just keep adding on, like, you know, this person's not like that. This person, you could get a straight answer out of this person. They're scared of maybe admitting, like they're scared of the repercussions of that, maybe legally. But this person knows. They're not lying to themselves. They're not blind to the truth. This is a person that's like, yeah, what I did that was wrong, and it was for this reason. Nikki, thank you so much for the super chat. Girl, you ain't never wrong. Big love. Yeah, so like this person, they want fairness, they want balance, they want to balance out their karma here, and I think they feel like their karma means that they have to be alone, and maybe that's embarrassing to them for some reason. Because of the Knight of Wands. Because maybe they've been a Knight of Wands. They've been inconsistent, and that could have to do with an agreement that was made, possibly even between the two of you. So for some of you, it's like this person made an agreement with you. It even could be on a soul level. I just got goosebumps. It could have been a soul contract or a soul agreement, and then this person was flaky about it because of some kind of selfish energy that they indulged in. And it does feel like an indulgence actually here with the Temperance. For some reason, I'm getting that. And it could have had to do with like drinking or, but I feel like in a weird way, and I feel like this could have happened in a number of ways because this person seems pretty with it to me. Like up here, they're kind of with it. But I feel like this has become a spiritual path, like where this person has had to, I'm hearing repent. Like reflect, but just repent. I feel like this person's really sorry because they knew better. From start to finish, this is a person who knew better. And they're more elevated than this snake energy. Really, truly, this feels like the snake tempting somebody down to their level because this person actually feels pretty big in their energy. Yeah, there was a heartbreak energy. There was a betrayal of a contract there there's a betrayal of a contract, but also like a breaking of your heart. Like this isn't, okay, I just heard this person say this isn't just a contract. There was emotions involved. There was like a human element here. Yeah, that they just turned their back on. Like, I just heard Severance, like the show Severance. That's what I heard when I saw the 10 of Pentacles. Yeah, because this is what they wanted, but I feel like they held themselves back. Like they knew that they should have spoken up to somebody or like defended you or not involved in this or asked the right questions or pushed back. They just didn't want to. They didn't want to. It didn't want to. Because they wanted something here. They wanted the easy way or they wanted the easy route. And it was a total betrayal of their own heart too, I think. They didn't equate the heart. And also I just saw Isis like weighing the heart against the feather. This person knows. Like this person knows that they're not innocent here in this situation. And they're fine admitting it. Which is kind of like nice after pile number 1. Like this is a person they're just trying to figure out. I think this person also knows that there's some karma coming to them. They're maybe defensive. They are still in a defensive place. Something about going independent, starting over. They are very defensive. The funny thing is, I actually think that this person, for the most part, like has pretty good karmas. You know, like I think it's like this is a big thing though. Like whatever happened here was like a big thing. It's a big rock is like what I'm getting. Like a big boulder. Boulder might be relevant. Boulder, Colorado, or just a boulder. I don't know. Like a canyon, a place with like big boulders or canyons might be, maybe this person goes to like the desert or place with like big megalithic structures or something, or they want to, or there could be a connection here to a time and place like Stonehenge. I don't know. Yeah, this person feels burdened about the past. So their intentions are they want to heal this. but they also have self-preservation, and they're also very intelligent. And just because this person owes karma doesn't mean that they're supposed to just throw themselves to the wolves. And I think that they know that. Like, how do I navigate this? Because I do think between the two of them, whoever this person got involved with, like this person that we're tapped into here has the better karma and a better head on their shoulders. They're better in every way, really. Like, they're more logical. And I mean that in a good way. Like, they have superior intellect. They are actually very principled, and they're going to take that high road. In some kind of way here. I don't know. But I think they may in some kind of way be a way that this person gets their just desserts or like their comeuppance. Yeah, they're just trying to figure out what to do. This person's just trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to like kind of light up the darkness. So this person intends, like I said at the beginning, this person intends to investigate this situation thoroughly and their options thoroughly and make the right choice for them. Because they're ready. Their soul is kind of ready to confront this, and they know that they've been dealing with a manipulator and that they themselves have been manipulative and that they were too confident. I am also hearing like con artist, and that's kind of reminding me of pile number 1. So this person could have been dealing with a pile number 1 person, and then you had to deal with a pile number 1 person to deal with this person. Okay, I just heard that's something that they've done to a lot of people, is that this is a person who is what they are, and they have their soulmates and their soul contracts. And none of these people needed to deal with this bullshit person from pile number 1 that this person required them in some way to deal with in order to deal with them. Bad. That's pretty bad. And so there is this kind of exponential component, and it could actually be because this person is more advanced. They're too advanced to be doing shit like this is kind of what I'm getting. So if you were shocked, if you were surprised, I feel like a lot of you would have been like, you were the best of us. Like you were, I don't know. Cause it feels like, so they need to kind of own up to, y'all shouldn't have had to deal with this. And for some, this person provides some level of sheltering tree or some kind of like stability here. For other people, not victim, rescuer, or persecutor. Like they're not really required to, but it's dangerous to have like people that kind of need you for something, and then you've got them around a pile number 1 person. Yikes. No. So they needed to be a little bit better about that. And for some, there may well be kids here as well. So they realized that they were with a manipulator, con artist, confidence artist that is actually very well-rounded. That's also a thing that I feel like this person, like they're kind of getting their karmas here. And I don't really want to say that this person kind of did something that was too untenable for them, because I do feel like they met their karma in this person. I think that there was every possibility this person could have turned away. And I sort of think the momentum was headed in that direction. But like they were confronted by this person, because one thing that I noticed as a difference here is that this person's showing up as the King of Swords, right? Which is like very elevated. And this person is not showing up as the Empress, but I feel like they can mimic the Empress. But what they're showing up as, this magician that has all 4 of the suits on the table here. They don't embody them. This is just a very good manipulator. So the Empress is the embodiment of all 4 queens. They're integrated and embodied, and she just is that. There's no table here. I am the table. For those of you who are chronically online, you'll know what I mean by that. I am the table, but doesn't have to say it, just is that, where this person is manipulative as hail, actual literal hail too. And like, just has all of the elements at their disposal. They can mimic pentacles. They can mimic wands. They can mimic, but that's all they can do is they can mimic. And this is the person that this person got involved with and lifted up as some kind of empress. But this is a confidence artist. And this person also knocks other people's confidence, because actually when I'm holding this up to the camera here, the yellow looks like very, does it look that way on this card too? Yeah. There's like a confidence. So I feel like this person's confidence has been diminished quite a bit in dealing with this person, but so is everybody else who's come in contact with this person. Yeah. So that's what they're kind of realizing. They're realizing, and they're starting to see. This person is like, they've been loudly messaged, or there was some kind of message here, or there was something that happened on a trip. And yeah, there was something here that happened. And I feel like it was some kind of message maybe that they saw when they were traveling. They could have like opened this person's, I don't know, but it flipped the way that this person was thinking about them. And they could see that this is like a manipulator. They could see that, oh, I thought this was an empress and I was putting you up on some kind of pedestal that you in no way, shape or form deserve, because this person, they're not the king, queen of anything. This person's kind of low, like kind of low down. So they're nervous about it. They're nervous about it because they know they've entertained this. They want to move forward actually too. They may be, yeah, they're split here. Maybe this person is separated for some of you and they're thinking about getting divorced, but they still want to be able to progress forward. I think this is where like it's just the brain, because I feel like they're like, well, what if I just separated from this person, but we still pretended to be a couple kind of a thing, or like we lived in different spots and then like I can move forward. It's very logic. It's very just only of the mind. But this person, like I said, they could recognize that there's heart energy that's been involved here as well. They want to, I think for a lot of you, this person wants to reunite with you. I think they want to say they're sorry. They don't just, this is actually weirdly, this is an action oriented person. And I think they knew better than to get involved with this person. I think that they know how to view people's actions, but I think that maybe there's a gender difference here. And so they gave this person the benefit of the doubt, where it's like, this energy really bothers me, because this is like very capable, applied. It just has no principles, no morals, and it's just applied to all the wrong things. And it wants like some kind of like position for itself. And so I just feel like every time this person would start to get caught by this person, they would be like, oh, oops, whoopsie, and it's like this person would just like buy it. And I kind of think that is because of their gender. So it's a good thing that we're reading the feminine mystique after this. Because I just feel like this person threw like all women under the bus. Like all women are stupid. Oh, I'm just a girl. It's giving like I'm just a girl, Meanwhile, they're just running circles over everybody here. And these are two very intelligent people, but in different ways. Because I think this person thought that the intelligence that they were seeing in this person, I do think they thought this person was talented or had some kind of gift, and what they're talented at is just being manipulative. But they thought that it was an intellect, but their intellect was against this person, to kind of get them in a position that they wanted to be in. And this person's starting to see that. They really are. But like I said, something did happen here. I don't know if it was recent. This person also stays very calm, like whenever certain things happen. So there was some type of message, and it could have happened on a trip, or they took a trip somewhere, or this person took a trip somewhere. And this person, it could have even been like that this person was giving some kind of sob story to someone. They were like crying. This person could see the manipulation, the emotional manipulation in what it was that they were saying. They could tell that it was disingenuous. They knew the actual truth. They knew the backstory here, and it revealed that this person is just kind of lying and conniving in a certain way. And I kind of don't think that this message was directed at this person. I think that I'm seeing somebody look at something on a computer screen and then just kind of be like, and very calmly, like kind of, it feels all very unceremonious, like just I've been duped kind of a thing. But I think they knew the whole time. I think this person, I think that's why they're kicking themselves, because they sort of knew the whole time. They just allowed themselves to get kind of buttered up and to get tempted. This feels like greed to me. It feels like just greed. Yeah. They wanted something to be true. They wanted to take some kind of shortcut. I think they're also seeing I think they thought that they could play, rescuer, or they could play, I think this person has money for some of you. It's giving sugar daddy. It's giving that. So this person put on a show, I think, as an empress, and this person, I think, was flattered. So I think this person was saying something like, oh, you're my favorite or something. And I think they maybe played like Born Sexy Yesterday kind of. There's a playing of stupid that I do not appreciate over here. And it holds everyone back. It really does. Because they paint this is what I don't like, is that they paint stupidity as feminine. That's why I don't like this person. Because they're anything but stupid. And they're just doing it to get themselves in a certain, and I understand that women have had to do that from like time immemorial. But if you live in America, like you got a shot now. Like we've got a real shot at like actually having women seen in the light that they genuinely are, which is capable and intelligent. And that is feminine. But yeah, anyways, like I feel like this person thought that they were in a superior position that they could kind of give to this person. I think this person, they do like the doe-eyed, like, can I have an allowance? Like, it's very much like that. And that to them was them playing the emperor. Now they're confused. There was a lot going on behind the scenes here. This person is so confused. They're so confused. They have to unpack a lot about, I just heard females, the female form. I just heard they have a lot to unpack here. they're really at war with themselves. They wanted to believe this so bad. They wanted to believe this is true, but really, I feel like this person, if this is a man, they're and maybe even if it is a woman, like their outdated views on like women and like femininity and what it is really set them up to be cleaned out, is what I'm hearing. Like cleaned out here. It's because something needs to change. This person is too advanced. This is actually a very advanced person, spiritually speaking, very advanced. So absolutely not with like what's going on here. I feel like that's what their guides are saying. Like that's why there's higher guardrails here. They're holding this person to account. Also, their spirit guides are saying, notice how when you're more capable, the bar gets higher. We don't treat you with kid gloves. No, you actually need to be performing higher. So notice what you're doing with little miss over here, because I think this is a kind of a feminine energy. Or if it's a man, it's like they lean into that. They might even be like, I don't know what's going on here if this is a man. But I feel like they have, if this is a man, I feel like they have another woman like in the background, maybe their mom or something. And maybe they even like went in towards this person to steal, I don't know, to impress like that. I don't know what's going on here. But because this person just lets this person get away with everything. And they're like, this is a capable person, higher standards. But I feel like just because they're a woman, I really think that it's kind of bothering me. Okay, but yeah, this person's, they are genuinely changing. They're genuinely starting to see things. There's judgment. That's exactly what this is. Things are being unearthed. Yeah, that they're not actually the emperor. Because this is a king of swords that needed to start gathering some other kings for himself and was, and maybe even was supposed to build friendships like with people, other men, that he could be around to learn from. I feel like actually weirdly it feels very Knights of the Round Table. That he could like relate to, and that was going to be a big part of his healing journey before I feel like he was derailed here. But this was a king of swords that needed to gather other kings inside of himself to become the emperor, and instead was flattered. It just feels so like just flattered, like, oh, like you're my favorite or whatever, just so that this person can mooch off of him and get themselves in a better position. And he let it happen. And I think he's having to be confronted. He's very conflicted because he's having to be confronted of like, I'm the Four of Pentacles. And I think his material situation will reflect that because he played emperor wannabe. This is a guy who's fully capable of being the emperor. Fully capable. Oh my God. My heart like just lit up. Like, I think I told you guys, this is like neither here nor there. I really don't know why I'm sharing this. But I am going to. So like the first past life regression that I did, which I do the Brian Weiss one, like on YouTube, I was so scared, but I went back. I asked to go back to like the most relevant lifetime, like for me that I was pulling from in this lifetime. And I went back to a lifetime where I was a man, and it really threw me for a loop because I was like, oh my God, that's me. But I was like a guy. And I kind of actually feel like that was me in a past life, like where I'm kind of like working through certain things, or I'm like picking up on this energy where actually like because I was in a relationship in that life, and it kind of did fuck me up. And but yeah, I think that was me in a past life, whereas like I could have actually become the emperor. Like I really could have like been more well-rounded, but instead I chose some kind of like easy route. I'm so certain that like resonates with me. And I think I'm telling you this because see how I do stick the landing with my words sometimes. Okay. But like, I still do this weird shit. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm like above it, but I'm also saying that I can acknowledge what the truth is. And I can hold myself to account, like when I actually see it. And that's what I value in a person. And that's who I hope to be. And, I am trying more and more to like live up to my own integrity, but I feel like I fell short in a masculine past life. I can feel that. I can actually feel that. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I feel like that's where this guy is. And just like very, conflicted. Look, there's been so many kings that have come out here. And I think maybe he's questioning in his mind about friends that he has. He might even feel very conflicted or in competition with, because whoever he partnered with may have him in competition with other kings instead of being where he should be, which is friends with a lot of these other kings and learning from them and having conversations and trusting and letting his guard down. This person may flirt with these people or just kind of like give an impression that maybe I'll move on with them. Yeah, it's functioning dysfunction. Or like he's got to like keep moving them away in order to kind of be like victorious or something. I think this person is wondering about certain people that, he's felt like defensive. And I think he felt like I am protective and I'm winning, but actually he's just the 9 of Wands. He's in a very weak energy that he's now starting to see for exactly what it is. Like I was calling this like I'm in a superior position because I always win out, like kind of here. But why are you in a situation where, because it feels like there's a contract here, but you still have to, so nobody's, what that tells me is your partner isn't honoring the contract and still making you fight. Like, why? Emperor wouldn't be in that position. So why are you there? And then they're kind of realizing I'm in the Four of Pentacles. I'm an emperor wannabe. I'm not actually winning fights against these other kings. I'm in the Six of Swords energy, functioning dysfunction, just moving away from actual hardship that would actually transform my life if I confronted it. I'm actually just the Nine of Wands. I'm exhausted. I'm competitive. I'm small. I'm the wounded warrior. And this is kind of fucking with my mind. So yeah, that's pile number 2. This wanted to come out too. Yeah. I think this person feels like you are the Two of Cups. Like that you're actually the strength now. This person's, and if it's not you, for some of you, this could be a soulmate that you've not met yet. And this is just what they're kind of going through right now, their karma. Because what they're starting to see is who their actual partner is. What traits to actually value in a partner, a woman, a man, what traits they actually love. And they're starting to understand like, oh, it's the traits that don't weaken me. Don't put me in a fucked up situation so that I'm always chasing after this other person. That's really what it is. It's an addiction to this other person, to like, mommy, like, you know, can't I be like, can I win your approval? Like, stop doing that. Stop putting yourself into that position, because this is actually a naturally strong person and you have to put yourself in that position to be in it at all. This is a very strong person, very capable person. So there's some, I think, and again, King of Swords, there's some unhealed emotional wounds that maybe this is a person who kind of scoffs at that. But if they fixed it, they wouldn't be chasing after this karmic, you know, or they wouldn't have put up with this for as long as they have, because it feels like maybe this is something that's gone on for a while. And they're kind of just realizing like, I'm not in a respectable position is what I'm hearing. I have not behaved in a respectable manner. But they're starting to realize maybe the traits and values, like if you already know this person, like the traits and values that you have, they're starting to realize they want a reconciliation. Maybe they chose this person over you or this path over you, but at the very least, they're starting to recognize what traits that they find attractive in a partner. And they're starting to, this partner that they're with, I can't say the word that I want to say because I'm going to get like a weird thing underneath this video, but it was like a weird way of not treating themselves gently, let's say. Okay. Yeah. Agnes said, what a doormat. But this is like, they thought that they weren't a doormat too, like is the thing. They were a doormat and they thought that they weren't a doormat, but it's because they allow this person to frame. It feels so suck up. It feels like, oh my God, like you're so strong. Like, oh my God, you're so like, it feels like that. And this person just buys it. They're flattered by it. And they're like, huh, because they feel in a superior position. And I wonder if this person makes more money or than this other person. But yeah. Okay. So we are done with pile 2. And I'm going to put the selections back up here. If you're just joining us, you have joined at an excellent time because we just finished pile number 2 and we're getting ready to move to pile number 3, which is the heart energy. And I'm going to compassion this space. Compassion. And I'm going to get my little gloss. Whew. The Sherlock says, may the Lord save and guide these humans to enlightenment and redemption and their true honor. Yes. May all beings be liberated. May all beings be free. May all beings be liberated. May all beings be free. Pile number 2's intentions. What was I saying? Pile number 2's intentions are to investigate this thoroughly. That is their purest of intentions, is to investigate that thoroughly. And they are starting off, I don't want to repeat the entire first part of the reading, but they're starting off with that logic and they're moving into others, which is a part of their spiritual path. That is a part of their spiritual journey because they're supposed to become the emperor. They're supposed to be kind of collecting those king energies. A magnum mint? Is that like a really big mint? That sounds like a huge mint to me, which I love that. Okay. If you're ready, I think I'm ready. Pile number 3, the heart. Ice cream on a stick. Oh my gosh, everybody's having ice cream. When did this happen? Ice cream sundae sounds so good. Ice cream. I'm going to have one too. Me and Alex are going to go get some ice creams. These two shall pass. Thank you. Okay, so pile number 3. What?
Oh, okay.
What is
also,
it?
You said today is ice cream Sunday big time. Only ice cream can fix such madness.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
what I'll say.
Maybe all Fridays should be ice cream Fridays. Okay. Or no. Alex is like,
What do you mean? Why not?
Why not? Yeah, sure. Okay, so pile number 3. What are the person on pile number 3's mind? What are their intentions? They're planning. Okay, so this person has an intention to plan. Okay. Let me just see here. What's going on with pile number 3? What is their intentions to plan? What is going on with pile number 3? Okay, yeah. This person wants to win. So they have an intention to plan how to get to somebody's heart here, or how to like get in on a relationship here is what it feels like. They want to compete and they want to win. That's what was coming out in those cards, but I was like, is this real? And then it came out again in the second deck. I grabbed an entirely different deck. But I think somebody here is in this like King of Swords energy, and because it's the King of Swords, which came out in pile number 2, so that could be like pile number 2's person. They're actually seeing this. I think they're able to see this. And look, because this person is in this 5 of Swords energy, but that is no match for the King. So like this person is in some kind of like, they're in the air suit, but whoever they're trying to sneak up on is way more advanced than them. Is this King of Swords energy. And they can see exactly, they can see that, and they can also see this person's like blurry vision and that they're not actually connected with like truth or reality in some kind of way. And maybe it's a way that they can kind of like exploit, but I don't mean exploit like in necessarily a bad way. I mean just like they can throw off this person's plan because there's something that they didn't account for here. They can exploit their weakness kind of a thing here. So who is this person in pile number 3? I just want to know. They want to advance themselves. This is somebody who wants to advance themselves under the guise of teamwork, and maybe even under the guise of something being a divine union or like blessed by God or something, but they really want to advance themselves because they're in some devil energy. They're in some devil energy. They could be really attracted to somebody here. Like there could be just a strong like sexual desire for somebody or like for what they have. I don't think that they're feeling in the strongest position because I think they feel that they've got eyes on them. That maybe there's other people who have kind of found out something about this person and it could be like their friends. Like it doesn't even have to be like their former lovers or something. But I feel like this person's, I'm kind of seeing like them wanting to say sorry, but knowing that that's not going to work like somewhere else. So I feel like this person is, I mean, maybe they were caught up in a third party situation. This is the kind of energy that would maybe do that. And they want to kind of say sorry, but then they want to, for some reason, they want to move on from whatever that is, or it feels strategic to this person to try to get in on another relationship here. They're feeling really burdened. Maybe they're feeling burdened by work or by some kind of, I feel like this person maybe got caught doing something or there was some kind of accident. Yeah. I feel like this person, 3 of Cups keeps coming out in different like formations. So there's like some kind of group of women here, but I don't necessarily think that this person was involved schmegsually with this group of women. Could be. There could have been that this person was just kind of like sleeping with a lot of people or getting around in a particular friend group. Or I think this maybe is a person who was trying to appeal to a group of women, like with their sob story or something. But actually, I think that they were kind of ran off or they were discovered or like, in some kind of way. So what are pile number 3's intentions here? They feel kind of stuck. They want to be a temptation. I feel like they want to offer themselves as a temptation to somebody here. Like that just keeps coming through. And they may actually be somebody's like spiritual test here. Tell me about their intentions. Like what? Yeah, tell me more about their intentions. Somebody here's freeing themselves. With the World card coming out, like something here has ended for this person. And they can't quite get to where they want to get. And maybe they can't get who they want to get. So maybe they're taking that as a challenge because somebody has like closed out a karmic cycle. Maybe that's the person that they're trying to get at, but I don't think that's going to work because I feel like this person has like put that to bed. Or it could be that somebody here that they really wanted. So they could have been involved. Okay, because I'm seeing the 4 of Cups in my mind now, like the 3 of Cups, right? That keeps coming out. But then like they see this person as being like their higher cup. But I feel like they got called out. They feel like they got caught out by like this higher cup. And so they can't like really go after that higher cup. So now they feel like they strategically want to get involved on like maybe another union, or there's something to do with work. And they want to kind of like build that up in order to present themselves as a temptation, maybe to somebody else. So it could be this person like from their past that they viewed as like being the higher cup, or it could be somebody else entirely that they think is in like a better position or something like that. I feel like this is going to go badly for this person. I don't know. I feel like, because there was the Emperor, the Fool, and the Moon. So it's definitely something under the cover of darkness, like in secret, some kind of illusions. But I just feel like somebody here is like going to step on a banana peel, or did. That also could be what happened in the past. Is like they thought, or they were presenting themselves as the Emperor, but actually they were the Fool. They just jump in with people. Maybe they jumped in with like a friend, or they jumped in to even, it could have even been a conversation, like a gossip sesh or something. Slipped on this banana peel because what was done in secret somehow came out. And this person kind of moved away. But I feel like that pattern is going to repeat itself because I feel like this person needs to, part of their karma is like to realize that the Fool is not the Emperor. Because I think they feel that they're in control of things, but they're kind of like on this like fool time, you know, where they are very impulsive here. And somebody's just realized, somebody's moved away from this. And there might even be like restrictions, like this person can't, like they're blocked or something here. Higher cup thinks he's yuck now. Yeah. And so this person is thinking about some devil energy. I think they fantasize a lot about this person. Like there's strong like attraction here, but there's also mad because I think this person's moved on in some kind of sense. And it could be with somebody else, which is maybe why they think that they're going to try to involve here in another situation. They want to try to clear the air, but they're planning. And I don't know that this person has a solid plan. Maybe they're going to pay somebody to break this person's heart or something. Or maybe, I don't know. I don't know what this could be. They want to... For some of you, this could be spell work. For some, maybe this person wants to pay somebody to do some kind of spell work where there's been like, for some kind of like heartbreak and like moving away and like, but it's coming out as like unjust. Like it's not actually just. This person's in some really dark energy, like just some real devil energy here, but they don't see it about themselves. They're supposed to be healing from the situation and like processing and grieving, but this person's not doing that. I also am kind of getting the sense that this person may be like a drinker or just in some kind of like habit, some kind of habitual energy here. Yeah, they have a choice, and it's a very karmic choice in front of them. Like, are you going to be a betrayer and enter into some kind of karmic contract or do something karmic here? Or are you going to be the hermit? Are you going to like go be alone and like process yourself alone and stop trying to be a third party here in this situation and cause heartbreak for other human beings and like perpetuate sorrows in the world, you know, and traumas that then become their own cycles that we all then have to kind of process through. Like this person needs to just stop. They really just need to stop. They need to take themselves out of the game. Some of these people need to go to rehab. Some of these people, they're supposed to be the hermit. Just spend some time alone here. Yeah, they're meddling. I feel like this person's actually meddling. They're trying to get in on a situation here that they feel is solid and also maybe has like some kind of stability and some kind of money to it, because that's what they want to. I can't even pull apart what this person wants. Like, it's all just so devil energy. It's also lustful, because I do think that there's like a lot of attraction here, but I also think that it's like the desire to have victory. That's what it's about. Just about winning. It's about victory. It's about the way that they're seen in the world. And it's also about fending something off. And I don't think it's going to work for this person, because I think that like this is somebody who's like, well, if I'm seen a certain way in the world, then that's who I am, So it's defensive. Like, all of this is like very defensive. I think they're in some kind of precarious position. I just heard financially, they feel like they could just get tipped off something here. And it's like in front of people. This person feels like he's going to fall off, or like, yeah, there's some kind of painful ending. I think there's like maybe even the truth is coming out about this person. And again, and maybe this is like the people that have involved with him are realizing actually like that is like, they're realizing like who he is, what he did. Because again, it feels like there was some kind of higher cup here, and they're realizing that he's like the fool or something. Look, high priestess, there's some kind of secret, or there's some kind of intuition about why somebody left. So this also could have been a person that like spread some kind of lies or spread some kind of falsehood or sob story about why this higher cup person left in order to garner sympathy. Painted himself as the victim is what I'm hearing, or herself. Painted themselves as the victim. And actually, I think a lot of people are starting to see this person. Like lied about a person here who I think had to go off and be, this is why this person has to be in I almost said emperor energy, but they have to be in hermit energy as like on their way to becoming the emperor. This person has a lot of healing to do and a lot of karmas to clear. And it feels like with women in particular, to be honest. But they have a lot of karmas to clear. That's why they have to go be hermit, is because I feel like somebody here was like run off from a group of people that actually loved them and actually were supposed to like support them, because this person is like kind of rotten. They're kind of rotten. They were doing devil energy things. But this person like tried to flip it like that's not what they were doing, and that they were actually like hurt or betrayed like by this other person, that they actually ran off, and somebody had to like sneak off here in the dead of night. Like, and also like with the red hood, it's like kind of Little Red Riding Hood. So maybe it's like, Granny, what big teeth you have. Like, I think there's an entire group, and it could be of women here. Where is it? Like all these women are kind of like mad at this person. Like, oh, did you use us? Did you confuse us? Because I feel like they gave like loving energy here to this person, or like some kind of sympathy. They harbored a fugitive is what I just heard, yo. But that actually might have been the case in a past life where they literally actually harbored a fugitive. But it's playing out in this life, I feel like a little bit lighter, where I think they just kind of like listened to this person and believed them and were like, oh, you poor thing. When actually they were not telling the truth. They were like, oh, and then so not only that, it feels like these women were like tending to like this person's wound. So it's like giving them a massage, making them like, I'm being kind of hyperbolic here, but it's like bringing them soup, like maybe doing favors, expending their energy to assist somebody that was actually like maybe drunk, or like the perpetrator, or like in some devil energy here. And like, they're all just kind of being like, no. And it doesn't even have to be women that he was sleeping with. These could be sisters, siblings, friends. But it just feels like this guy, I want to say this is a guy, like weaponized empathy, weaponized feminine empathy, like for his own devil, to cover his own devil energy and to run off some kind of higher cup energy, this like competition energy here. Or like to drum up competition, to get these women here. And like, where did it go? The 8 of Cups keeps coming out here. But still, like that cups energy, that like loving energy that a group, it feels like a bigger group, but also a smaller group of women like would have had towards his victim here. I want to say like his victim, which is like this higher cup kind of person. He wanted these women to be rivals or to fight his battles like on his behalf. Like, well, what I heard, and he knew the right things to say to kind of like inflame women, like to attack this other lady or something like that. Yeah. And I feel like he's changed. Like there's something here going on behind the scenes spiritually. I mean, because there's like some kind of Ace of Cups energy, but look, it's the hand of God. That's like, and there it is just the hand of God offering this like Ace of Cups energy, but it's changed his like fortune in some way because he tried to do it. But I'm picturing this guy like arm wrestling with God, where he was trying to pull the wheel of fortune in his favor, but actually just ended up like stagnating, and this person like got away, and he's like left feeling burdened and responsible, but also like anxious because it feels like there's nothing that he can do to have some kind of passionate beginning, like actually with this other person. But also, it feels like maybe there's a Queen of Pentacles here, like on his side. I don't know if that's a mom or whatever, but yeah, it just feels like he's actually being revealed. Like there's a group of women that are like, oh, you are the problem. Like it feels like collectively all at the same time. Like, oh, and you didn't leave. I feel like he could have done something here where it's like, because this came out upside down, where it's like, oh, and you stayed around, you did that to that person, and you're still here. You have the nerve to show your face in our group day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and drum and say these weird things to like when you're like it's gross. Like whatever this is, yeah, judgment. There's a period of judgment going on here. On a queen, yeah, for a Queen of Cups, because this is the higher cup person. Somebody here is actually very sweet. That's not what he said, but they are actually very sweet. It's just the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is this Queen of Cups lady is actually very sweet. Is actually maybe very traditional, doesn't step a toe out of line kind of energy. But he was trying to say that she's what? The big bad wolf. Oh, that was it. Granny, what big eyes you have. To get these people kind of looking at, maybe it is like a granny energy, but it feels like a warm, tender, feminine energy. That's maybe even chronal feminine energy. So that could be any age. This could just be very wise energy. Crone energy has seen shit in her day, you know? So this could even be a very young person, maybe in the technically like the maiden phase, like early 20s, you know? But is chronal energy because I always hear like Tim Dillon, like his little shtick that he calls Gen Z people the little black-eyed nihilists because they've all just seen shit. Like they've all just like, they came up with like COVID and everything. They've seen shit. He's like, they're all like, they're from the, you know, the wrong side of town, and they've seen too much. You can't fool them, you know, kind of a thing. Like, and that's kind of what I'm getting is that, yeah, this person just really took advantage and was trying to act like this Queen of Cups energy was something that she wasn't. And it's come out. And in some way, I feel like he's facing some kind of major fall. Like, because this person was trying to, it's like, I just saw Humpty Dumpty now. Like, because they were trying to climb to the top of something here to avoid a reckoning here. And I think maybe this is a guy who thought that superiority would be the answer. It would put the nail in the coffin. It would be the period at the end of the sentence of, see, I'm actually better than her. And he in no way is. Like, in no way. This is a terrible person. And this is, I feel like you're looking at a Queen of Cups here, like a very beautiful, genuine, sweet person who very much should have had the protection and the comfort and the love. All them soups that they were bringing over to this masculine stroking his ego, you poor baby, should have gone to this feminine energy. She wouldn't have needed as much of it because I feel like she would have been like, I don't want to take too much of your time or too much of your energy or too much of your resources, you know, like, thank you for bringing that over. But this guy is just soaking it up because he's stroking his ego and he wants, it's manipulation and maybe a bit of greed here as well too. But he thought, if I can get myself to a better position in life, and he did, but it feels all gory. It feels really gory. And it feels like he's maybe done something wrong to get there. Like, come between two people, like it feels like maybe a third party situation or betrayed, planned, strategized, because that's the energy with this person. They're really caught in a devil energy in order to do that. And it feels like this person is just going to fall over, like from a great height that they should not. And Spirit's kind of teaching this person, like, you want to be careful climbing up to heights where you don't belong, because the wind, you're not anchored in any kind of karmic or spiritual way up there. So the wind's going to blow and you're going to fall right off. Let that be a lesson. You know, this is somebody who's really trying to outrun their karma, but they were trying to climb, social climb maybe, in order to do it, or that's their intention, because we're talking about this person's intentions. So either this was done in the past and this person has an intention to, now they're desperately like grasping for straws. Their intention is to cover it up, to continue to cover it up. Because I feel like there's just been one big cover up after another where this person, like, I feel like they'll strategically come in and out of this group whenever they feel like they can at least like manage their facade. Like when things are going better for them, or at the very least they can kind of give the impression that it's better for them, but all of it's very strategic. You know, like when they kind of because it's about image management, and it's all about making sure the truth doesn't come out about who he really is towards this feminine energy. And in order to keep these people unfriendly towards this feminine energy, and to keep conflict, and even to keep competition. And I feel like he's maybe in competition with this Queen of Cups, who's doing better in their life kind of a thing. The Lightheart Alchemist, thank you so much for the super chat. Little fishy that my dad passed the same night I told this person they were my life insurance beneficiary. Little fishy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is a little fishy. But yeah. So it's all like kind of, they're trying to outrun their past. They're trying to outrun their karma, and they're trying to outrun a friend here. Some kind of friend asking the wrong questions. Because I feel like if he really played up the pain here and like the betrayal, then all of the attention and conversations would be like, are you okay? And he could say, ouch, that hurts. I don't really. And so it's just a way of deflecting. It's just a clever way of deflecting. He just wants to prevent real conversation from happening between friends, or where they're asking him the correct questions that would actually illuminate what's going on in the scorpionic space. Because I feel like he's an abuser. And I feel like there's also something here secretive that he did towards this Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is the higher cup here, and she knows why she left. And I think it's because other people were involved, and they were either involved in a gossipy kind of way, or like just like handle your business. Like if we have an issue between the two of us, unless and there may well be abuse involved here. And this is, the Queen of Cups is, I feel, the woman here in the situation, the feminine energy. So she may well need help. She may well need support if he's bigger than her, or because this is not a good person. This is a scary person in some kind of way, capable of a lot. So, he wants to, this is so abusive to me, because he's trying to make it to where she doesn't have a community of support and love, and that he takes all of that love and support too. This is a nasty piece of work. Yeah, but the divine stepped in here and I think moved her away. So she was told maybe intuitively to move away, even though she had a lot of love for these people. It's just that they're not available to assist her. These people need to get a handle on themselves. They need to reorient themselves as to the way the world works. And just to start noticing like that this position they're in with this guy means that they can't ask the real questions of this man. And that he's like watching her. He's like very strategically watching her in like a way that is weird. Yeah. He wants her in. So, okay. He wants her in some kind of, where she can't tell the truth, and where nobody has the truth about her, and to where she can't exercise her own power in a certain situation. That's what he's trying to do here. And he's weaponizing a group, and it feels like a group of women in order to do this. At the very least, there's a smaller pocket of women, but that is somehow core to his plan. There's certain women who may actually have some level of strength to them, some level of pull in a group. And if those women were to say, actually, sir, we don't treat people like that, and I don't know why you keep coming around here with your dusty, crusty ass, then everybody in the group would be like, you can't be that way around women in here. Like the men in the group would then be like, you can't be that way around women in here, dude. Like, you know, but that's not happening, because there's certain women here that he's identified as having some level of social power, and he wants those women to feel bad for him because that gives him social power. That's what's going on here. This is on some little boy shit. This is actually, you know, Cinderella, the cat, the mean cat in Cinderella, and Bruno was the dog. And at one point, the cat scratches the dog, and the dog is like, like, you know, to defend himself. And then the cat laid out and was like, oh, where, you know, like reactive abuse. I mean, I'm describing reactive abuse. That's what like went on here. And then Cinderella's like, Bruno, we got to put you outside, Bruno. Like that's what he's trying to do, but like with these three women here. And I think he's trying to, maybe even make them feel like he has some type of friendship with them or some type of interest with them. Really, how he actually views this group of women here that he's trying to control is, y'all are the three down here, and there's the big cup up here. And I want the big cup up here, but I got to control the three down here. That's how he actually views them. That's a woodpecker. So take that however you want. Maybe that's a confirmation. Stop eating my house. Yeah. So, yeah, so I think, yeah, maybe it's been like loud knocking for these ladies to be like, I don't know what picture that he painted here. Cause he's just it's really just, yeah, he really wanted this like other lady here. Yeah. Look, this is exactly the energy of, look, like I got all these three, but now I just need this one. this is somebody trying to pull a lot of power to them to control like one person here. So yeah. And I think this Queen of Cups, like her involvement in this is that she needed to jump into her Queen of Swords energy, just like kind of no nonsense, like just seeing something for what it is. And actually, I think it's true for all of these women here, because I think maybe all of these women here are in their Queen of Cups energy, you know, being very loving, because they're being very like nurturing here. And so they're all supposed to be in their Queen of Swords energy of just like, wait a second, what did you say? But also kind of understanding the dynamics in the culture that we live in. Yeah, this lover's energy, the Fool. I think maybe some of these women did jump in with this guy. They either jumped in with his narrative or they jumped in with him schmeggerly, and they would regret that because it's just he's using them as a pawn, like is what this is. Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of realizing it. They're realizing that there's some doublespeak here. They're realizing it. Oh, this is a nasty guy. So I don't really think that I want to look more into this. I think that we know what kind of person this is. This is somebody in some nasty energy. But yeah, they're planning. Their intention is to plan. Their intention is to strategize. Their intention is to continue to cover up their nasty behavior in order to maintain control of the narrative. They also are intending to try to be a third party, or they want to get in on some kind of relationship that they feel like is stable, has money, and some kind of superior position. And that could be his higher cup person that has gotten away, because somebody has gotten away. Like they've closed out karmically, even energetically, even they've closed something out here. But that also could be somebody else, because he feels like, oh, if I involve with that person, that puts me in a superior position, because something in his head is saying, so long as I have the superior position and I'm doing better in my life, or I can at least paint the picture of doing well, then this group of people will like respect and admire me incorrectly, you know, but it will hold, my story will actually hold up. It will hold true. And these women will continue to be my little foot soldiers, and they will rival and compete with and attack this other lady on my behalf. Ooh, the level of pissed off I would be. Don't ever let a man wind you up and push you in a direction of another woman. It's beyond lazy. And also, like, you have your own karmas to work through. You don't need to add a bunch of junk karmas because this guy's around. Like, I don't know what you think he brings to your life, but this guy brings nothing but mess and drama and trouble. And also, this is a guy that's like a liar, just a liar, like should not be believed. And once you figure that out, move away from someone like that. But I think that's also like kind of what's happening here is like, I cannot believe that you continue to come around here. And this person left. And because there's something about like after what you did, after what you said, I can't believe that you would continue to be around this group of people, because it also feels like this woman belongs in this group of people and was victimized or harmed or abused, like in private or something. And it's like the nerve, the absolute audacity of this guy, like because I think some of these people are like, well, he wasn't behaving like someone who did that or something like that, well, because he was still around. But then when you realize that he is the person that he is and that he's still coming around, you're dealing with somebody very terrible. So I feel like that's kind of all, it's all coming out, because it feels like there's a group of women here that are realizing that they've been used. They've been maneuvered. They've been buttered up, and that he's not presenting himself the way that he actually is. And that maybe that really harmed a woman here, and they don't want to be a part of it. I don't think that they want to be a part of it. I don't think that they're comfortable with the way that he's used them. And that's what he was. I think that it was under the guise of friendship, under the guise of some kind of communication. But it was no such thing. It was all strategic maneuvering, and he doesn't think highly of these women. He views them as objects. I think he views this other woman. He views her as a higher object for some reason, because he wants to use her for a higher purpose, or she's got something that he really wants. But at the end of the day, he views all of these women as objects and pawns in his game, and he doesn't care about treating them morally or anything. He doesn't think about what he does, because he doesn't have to. He'll just maneuver you wherever, and you'll fight whoever he tells you to fight, is like the way that he's looking at these women. So, okay. So this was the worst one by far. If you just joined the reading, this was the worst one by far. So my condolences if you are dealing with a pile number 3 person, but a lot of you, I think the karma has been closed out. Like you've actually closed this door and like gotten away from something here. And I kind of get the sense that if this person tries to come back, there may well be actually like authorities and evidence that's like kind of collected or preserved to where I think I think you could even, like, if you wanted to press charges in a court of law or something, I think that there would be some kind of paper trail, or this person would be caught on some kind of camera, or like something like that. It just feels like really, really extreme. So that's what we have for pile number 3, and that person's shit ass intentions. Okay. So that was that. Yeah. Okay. The good news for pile number 3, though, is everybody in that situation is a good person, and actually a very capable person, except for the masculine energy that's there. Everybody else is. Even if they were recruited and then they have to unrecruit themselves. It's flying monkey energy. Okay, so let us move to our book. I don't think we're going to do a general message. So like I was saying at the beginning, okay, so I wanted to start reading The Feminine Mystique, and if it gets weird or anything, then we'll stop reading it, or if we feel like we don't want to read it anymore, then we'll stop reading it, of course. So just a couple of things here about this book. It was written a long time ago, in like the 1950s, I want to say. Let me see if I can't find that, but when was this written? 1963. So it was written a while ago, and a lot of people do say that this is like required reading for both women and men, actually, but it is limited in its scope because it tends to, and I haven't read this book, but what I've heard is that it tends to focus on like white suburban women, but it was like a kind of a good pinnacle work. And maybe if we're like really into this, we could read Women, Race and Class by Angela Davis, because that's kind of like a more holistic thing. But I started to read this and I was like, yo, this is like still kind of relevant today, the little things that I was reading. But we might come across things here that are like dated, or that aren't like quite complete, or that they don't factor in other variables. And I just want you to know to like just expect that we can have conversations about it in the chat and everything. But yeah. And also I have... Okay, so let's just start. Okay, so The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. Okay, I'm going to read the prefaces and acknowledgments because it's actually really good. The writing in this is actually really, really good. So, okay. Gradually, without seeing it clearly for quite a while, I came to realize that something is very wrong with the way American women are trying to live their lives today. I sensed it first as a question mark in my own life. As a wife and mother of 3 small children, half guiltily and therefore half-heartedly, almost in spite of myself, using my abilities and education in work that took me away from home. It was this personal question mark that led me in 1957 to spend a great deal of time doing an intensive questionnaire of my college classmates, 15 years after our graduation from Smith. The answers given by 200 women to those intimate, open-ended questions made me realize that what was wrong could not be related to education in the way that it was believed to be. The problems and satisfaction of their lives and mine, and the way our education had contributed to them, simply did not fit the image of the modern American woman as she was written about in women's magazines, studied and analyzed in classrooms and clinics, praised and damned in a ceaseless barrage of words ever since the end of World War II. There was a strange discrepancy between the reality of our lives as women and the image to which we were trying to conform, the image that I came to call the feminine mystique. I wondered if other women faced this schizophrenic split and what it meant. I just want to pause here. What she's talking about as education is that back in the day, women who felt unsatisfied but didn't quite know what it was, like in their role as like suburban housewife, if they were educated, a lot of people blamed it on that. And they said, well, you were just educated and that was wrong, and so it set you up for failure kind of thing. But what she's saying here is that in her study and her research, that actually wasn't it at all. And so I began to hunt down the origins of the feminine mystique and its effects on women who live by it or grew up under it. My methods were simply those of a reporter on the trail of a story, except I soon discovered that this was no ordinary story. For the startling pattern that began to emerge, as one clue led me to another in far-flung fields of modern thought and life, defied not only the conventional image, but basic psychological assumptions about women. I found a few pieces of the puzzle in previous studies of women, but not many, for women in the past have been studied in terms of the feminine mystique. The Mellon study of Vassar women was provocative. Simon de Beauvoir's insights into French women, the work of Mira somebody, A.H. Maslow, Alva Myrdal, I found even more provocative the growing body of new psychological thought on the question of man's identity, whose implications for women seemed to not have been realized. I found further evidence by questioning those who treat women's ills and problems, and I traced the growth of the mystique by talking to editors of women's magazines, advertising motivational researchers, and theoretical experts on women in the fields of psychology, psychoanalysis, anthropology, sociology, and family life education. But the puzzle did not begin to fit together until I interviewed at some depth, from 2 hours to 2 days each, 80 women at certain crucial points in their life cycle. High school and college girls facing or evading the question of who they were, young housewives and mothers for whom, if the mystique were right, there should be no such question and who thus had no name for the problem troubling them, and women who faced a jumping off point at 40. These women, some tortured, some serene, gave me the final clues and the most damning indictment of the feminine mystique. I could not, however, have written this book without the assistance of many experts, both eminent theoreticians and practical workers in the field, and indeed without the cooperation of many who themselves believe and have helped perpetrate the feminine mystique. I was helped by many present and former editors of women's magazines, including Peggy Bell, Josh English, Bruce Gold, Mary Ann Guitar, James Scardon, Nancy Lynch, Geraldine Rhodes, a bunch of people here who gave me their data from Unfinished Study of Fictional Heroines. Among behavioral scientists, theoreticians, and therapists in the field, I owe a great debt to... Okay, so I'm not going to read all these people because it's just a bunch of people. Hold on here. Okay. The insights, interpretations, both of theory and fact, and the implicit values of this book are inevitably my own, but whether or not the answers I present here are final, and there are many questions which social scientists must probe further, the dilemma of the American woman is real. At the present time, many experts, finally forced to recognize this problem, are redoubling their efforts to adjust women to it in terms of the feminine mystique. My answers may disturb the experts and women alike, for they imply social change. But there would be no sense in my writing this book at all if I did not believe that women can affect society, as well as be affected by it, and that in the end, a woman, as a man, has the power to choose and to make her own heaven or hell. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying here? The writing alone. Okay, so chapter 1. And I haven't actually reached the end of chapter 1 because it's quite a long chapter, so we'll read until we don't want to. Chapter 1, I'm getting goosebumps. The problem with no name. The problem lay buried, unspoken for many years in the minds of American women. It was a strange stirring, a sense of dissatisfaction, a yearning that women suffered in the middle of the 20th century in the United States. Each suburban wife struggled with it alone. As she made the beds, shopped for groceries, matched slipcover material, ate peanut butter sandwiches with her children, chauffeured Cub Scouts and brownies, lay beside her husband at night, she was afraid to ask, even of herself, the silent question, is this all? For over 15 years, there was no word of this yearning in the millions of words written about women, for women, in all the columns, books, and articles by experts telling women their role was to seek fulfillment as wives and mothers. Over and over, women heard in voices of tradition and of Freudian sophistication that they could desire no greater destiny than the glory in their own femininity. Experts told them how to catch a man and keep him, how to breastfeed children and handle their toilet training, how to cope with sibling rivalry and adolescent rebellion, how to buy a dishwasher, bake bread, cook gourmet snails, and buy a swimming pool and build it with their own hands, how to dress, look, and act more feminine and make marriage more exciting, how to keep their husbands from dying young and their sons from growing into delinquents. They were taught to pity the neurotic, unfeminine, unhappy women who wanted to be poets or physicists or presidents. They learned that truly feminine women do not want careers, higher education, political rights, the independence and opportunities that old-fashioned feminists fought for. Some women in their 40s and 50s still remembered painfully giving up those dreams, but most of the younger women no longer even thought about them. 1,000 expert voices applauded their femininity, their adjustment, their new maturity. All they had to do was devote their lives from the earliest girlhood to finding a husband and bearing children. By the end of the 1950s, the average marriage age of women in America dropped to 20 and was still dropping into the teens. 14 million girls were engaged by 17. The proportion of women attending college in comparison with the men dropped from 47% in 1920 to 35% in 1958. I don't mean to make myself sound stupid, but that was really eye-opening for me because I just thought that I believed wholeheartedly in the myth of progress for like a long time. I just kept thinking things got better and better and better, but this actually really helped to open my eyes that like things actually do go up and down. And that in the 1920s, there was a lot, maybe more open-minded thought about women being educated than in the 1950s and almost 60s, which was kind of wild for me. A century earlier, women had fought for higher education. Now, girls went to college to get a husband. By the mid-50s, 60% dropped out of college to marry, or because they were afraid too much education would be a marriage bar. Colleges built dormitories for married students, but the students were almost always the husbands. A new degree was instituted for the wives, PhD, putting husbands through. Then American girls began getting married in high school, and the women's magazines, deploring the unhappy statistics about these young marriages, urged that course on marriages and marriage counselors to be installed in the high schools. Girls started going steady at 12 and 13 in junior high. Manufacturers put out brassieres with false bottoms of foam rubber for little girls of 10, and an advertisement for a child's dress size 3 to 6X in the New York Times in the fall of 1960 said, "She too can join the man trap set." By the end of the 50s, the United States birth rate was overtaking India's. The birth control movement, renamed Planned Parenthood, was asked to find a method whereby women who had been advised that a third or fourth baby would be born dead or defective might have it anyhow. Statisticians were especially astounded at the fantastic increase in the number of babies among college women, where once they had 2 children, now they had 4, 5, 6. Women who once wanted careers were now making careers out of having babies, so rejoiced Life magazine in 1956, paean to the movement of American women back to the home. In a New York hospital, a woman had a nervous breakdown when she found she could not breastfeed her baby. In other hospitals, women dying of cancer refused a drug which research had proven might save their lives. Its side effects were said to be unfeminine. Quote, "If I have only one life, let me live it as a blonde," a larger-than-life size picture of a pretty vacuous woman proclaimed from a newspaper, magazine, and drugstore ads. And across America, 3 out of every 10 women dyed their hair blonde. They ate a chalk called Metrical instead of food to shrink to the size of thin young models. Department store buyers reported that American women since 1939 had become 3 and 4 sizes smaller. Quote, "Women are out to fit the clothes instead of vice versa," one buyer said. Interior decorators were designing kitchens with mosaic murals and original paintings, for kitchens were once again the center of women's lives. Home sewing became a $1 million industry. Many women no longer left their homes, except to shop, chauffeur their children, or attend a social engagement with their husbands. Girls were growing up in America without ever having jobs outside the home. In the late 50s, a sociological phenomenon was suddenly remarked. A third of American women now worked, but most were no longer young and very few were pursuing careers. They were married women who held part-time jobs, selling or secretarial, to put their husbands through school, their sons through college, or to help pay the mortgage. Or they were widows supporting families. Fewer and fewer women were entering professional work. The shortages in nursing, social work, and teaching professions caused crisis in almost every American city. Concerns over the Soviet Union's lead in the space race, scientists noted that America's greatest source of unused brain power was women, but girls would not study physics. It was unfeminine. A girl refused a science fellowship at Johns Hopkins to take a job in a real estate office. All she wanted, she said, was what every other American girl wanted: to get married, have 4 children, and live in a nice house in the suburb. The suburban housewife, she was the dream image of young American women and the envy, it was said, of women all over the world. The American housewife, freed by science and labor-saving appliances from the drudgery of dangers of childbirth and illnesses of her grandmother. She was healthy, beautiful, educated, concerned only about her husband, her children, her home. She had found true feminine fulfillment. As a housewife and a mother, she was respected, and as a full and equal partner to man in his world. She was free to choose automobiles, clothes, appliances, supermarkets. She had everything that women ever dreamed of. In the 15 years after World War II, this mystique of feminine fulfillment became the cherished and self-perpetuating core of contemporary American culture. Millions of women lived their lives in the image of those pretty pictures of the American suburban housewife, kissing their husbands goodbye in front of the picture window, depositing their station wagons full of children at school, and smiling as they ran the new electric waxer over the spotless kitchen floor. They baked their own bread, sewed their own and children's clothes, kept their new washing machines and dryers running all day. They changed the sheets on the bed twice a week instead of once, took the rug hooking class in adult education, and pitied their poor, frustrated mothers who had dreamed of having a career. The only dream was to be perfect wives and mothers, their highest ambition to have 5 children and a beautiful house, their only fight to get and keep their husbands. They had no thought of the unfeminine problems of the world outside the home. They wanted the men to make the major decisions. They gloried in their role as women and wrote proudly on the census blank, occupation, housewife. For over 15 years, the words written for women and the words women used when they talked to each other, while their husbands sat on the other side of the room and talked shop or politics or septic tanks, were about problems with their children, or how to keep their husbands happy, or improve their children's school, or cook chicken and make slipcovers. Nobody argued whether women were inferior or superior to men. They were simply different. Words like emancipation and career sounded strange and embarrassing. No one had used them for years. When a French woman named Simone de Beauvoir, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your language, wrote a book called The Second Sex, an American critic commented that she obviously didn't know what life was all about. And besides, she was talking about French women. The woman problem in America no longer existed. If a woman had a problem in the 1950s and 1960s, she knew that something must be wrong with her marriage or with herself. Other women were satisfied with their lives, she thought. What kind of a woman was she if she did not feel this mysterious fulfillment waxing the kitchen floor? She was so ashamed to admit her dissatisfaction that she never knew how many other women shared it. If she tried to tell her husband, he didn't understand what she was talking about. She did not really understand it herself. For over 15 years, women in America found it harder to talk about this problem than about sex. Even the psychoanalysts had no name for it. When a woman went to a psychiatrist for help, as many women did, she would say, "I'm so ashamed. I must be hopelessly neurotic. I don't know what's wrong with women today." I don't know what's wrong with women today, a suburban psychiatrist said uneasily. "I only know something is wrong because most of my patients happen to be women, and their problem isn't sexual. Most women with this problem didn't go to see a psychoanalyst, however. There's nothing wrong, really," they kept telling themselves. "There isn't any problem." But on an April morning in 1959, I heard of a mother of 4 having coffee with 4 other mothers in a suburban development 15 miles from New York say in a tone of quiet desperation, "The problem." And the others knew without words that she was not talking about a problem with her husband or her children or her home. Suddenly they realized they all shared the same problem, the problem that has no name. They began hesitantly to talk about it. Later, after they had picked up their children at nursery school and taken them home to nap, 2 of the women cried in sheer relief just to know that they were not alone. Gradually, I came to realize that the problem that has no name was shared by countless of women in America. As a magazine writer, I often interviewed women about problems with their children or their marriages or their houses or their communities. But after a while, I began to recognize the telltale signs of this other problem. I saw the same signs in suburban ranch houses and split levels on Long Island and in New Jersey and Westchester County, in colonial houses in small Massachusetts towns, on patios in Memphis, in suburban and city apartments, in living rooms in the Midwest. Sometimes I sensed the problem, not as a reporter, but as a suburban housewife, for during this time I was also bringing up my own 3 children in Rockland County, New York. I heard echoes of the problem in college dormitories and semi-private maternity wards, at PTA meetings and luncheons of the League of Women Voters, at suburban cocktail parties, in station wagons waiting for trains, and in snatches of conversations overheard at Schrafft's. I don't know what that is. The groping words I heard from other women on quiet afternoons, when children were at school or on quiet evenings with their husbands, worked late. I think I understood first, as a woman, long before I understood their larger social and psychological implications. Just what was this problem that had no name? What were the words women used when they tried to express it? Sometimes a woman would say, "I feel empty somehow, incomplete." Or she would say, "I feel as if I don't exist." Sometimes she blotted out the feeling with the tranquilizer. Sometimes she thought the problem was with her husband or her children, or what she really needed was to redecorate her house or move to a better neighborhood or have an affair or another baby. Sometimes she went to a doctor with symptoms she could hardly describe. A tired feeling. "I get so angry with these children it scares me. I feel like crying without any reason." A Cleveland doctor called it the housewife syndrome. A number of women told me about great bleeding blisters that break out on their hands and arms. "I call it the housewife's blight," said a family doctor in Pennsylvania. "I see it so often lately in these young women with 4, 5, and 6 children who bury themselves in their dishpans. But it isn't caused by detergent and it isn't cured by cortisone." Sometimes a woman would tell me that the feeling gets so strong she runs out of the house and walks through the streets, or she just stays inside her house and cries, or her children tell her a joke and she doesn't laugh because she doesn't hear it. I talked to women who had spent years on an analyst's couch, working out their adjustment to the feminine role, their blocks to fulfillment as a wife and a mother, but the desperate tone in these women's voices and the looks in their eyes were the same as the tone and the look of other women, who were sure that they had no problem, even though they did have a strange feeling of desperation. A mother of 4 who left college at 19 to get married told me, "I've tried everything women are supposed to do: hobbies, gardening, pickling, canning, being very social with my neighbors, joining committees, running PTATs. I can do it all, and I like it, but it doesn't leave you anything to think about, any feeling of who you are. I never had any career ambitions. All I wanted was to get married and have 4 children. I love the kids and Bob and my home. There's
no problem you can even put a name to, but I'm desperate. I feel I have no personality. I'm a server of food and a putter on of pants and a bed maker, somebody who can be called on when you want something, but who am I? A 23-year-old mother in blue jeans said, I ask myself why I'm so dissatisfied. I've got my health, fine children, a lovely new home, enough money. My husband has a real future as an electronics engineer. He doesn't have any of these feelings. He says maybe I need a vacation. Let's go to New York for a weekend. But that isn't it. I always had this idea we should do everything together. I can't sit down and read a book alone. If the children are napping and if I have 1 hour to myself, I just walk through the house waiting for them to wake up. I don't make a move until I know where the rest of the crowd is going. It's as if ever since you were a little girl, there's always been somebody or something that will take care of your life. Your parents, or college, or falling in love, or having a child, or moving to a new house. Then you wake up one morning and there's nothing left to look forward to. In 1960, the problem that had no name burst like a boil through the image of the unhappy American housewife. In the television commercials, the pretty housewives still beamed over their foaming dishpans, and Time's cover story on the suburban wife, an American phenomenon, protested, having too good a time to believe that they should be unhappy. But the actual unhappiness of the American housewife was suddenly being reported. From the New York Times and the Newsweek to Good Housekeeping and CBS television, the trapped housewife. Although almost everybody who talked about it found some superficial reason to dismiss it. It was attributed to incompetent appliance repairmen, or distances children must be chauffeured in the suburbs, or too much PTA. Some said it was old problems, education. More and more women had education, which naturally made them unhappy in their role as housewives. Quote, the road from Freud to Frigidaire, from Sophocles to Spock, had turned out to be a bumpy one, reported the New York Times in June 28, 1960. Quote, many young women, certainly not all, whose education plunged them into a world of ideas, feel stifled in their homes. They find their routine lives out of joint with their training. Like shut-ins, they feel left out. In the last year, the problem of the educated housewife has provided the meat of dozens of speeches made by troubled presidents of women's colleges who maintain, in the face of complaints, that 16 years of academic training is realistic preparation for wifehood and motherhood. There was much sympathy for the educated housewife. Quote, like a two-headed schizophrenic. Once she wrote a paper on a graveyard poets, now she writes notes to the milkman. Once she determined the boiling point of sulfuric acid, now she determines her boiling point at which with the overdue repairman. The housewife often is reduced to screams and tears. No one, it seems, is appreciative, least of all herself, the kind of person she becomes in the process of turning from poetress into shrew. Home economics suggested more realistic preparation for housewives, such as high school workshops and home appliances. College educators suggested more discussion groups on home management. Can I just say, the level of pissed off that I would be if someone forced me to take a high school class in home appliances, I'm angry. I don't want to learn about that. Anyways, okay. College educators listed more discussion groups on home management and the family to prepare women for the adjustment to domestic life. A spate of articles appeared in the mass magazines offering 58 ways to make your marriage more exciting. No month went by without a new book by a psychiatrist or a sexologist offering technical advice on finding greater fulfillment through sex. A male humorist joked in Harper's Bazaar that the problem could be solved by taking away a woman's right to vote. A male humorist joked in Harper's Bazaar that the problem could be solved by taking away a woman's right to vote. Quote, yeah, he's just a jerk. Oh my gosh, my eye is watering here. That was a little bit too much for me. Quote, in the pre-19th Amendment era, the American woman was placid, sheltered, and sure of her role in American society. She left all political decisions to her husband, and he in turn left the family decisions to her. Today, a woman has to make both the family and political decisions, and it's too much for her, end quote. A number of educators suggested seriously that women no longer be admitted to four-year colleges and universities. In the growing college crisis, the education which girls could not use as housewives was more urgently needed than ever by boys to do the work of the atomic age. The problem was also dismissed with drastic solutions no one could take seriously. A woman writer proposed in Harper's that women be drafted for compulsory service as nurses, aides, and babysitters. And it was smoothed over with an age-old panaceas. Love is their answer. The only answer is inner help. The secret of completeness, children. A private means of intellectual fulfillment. These are all quotes, by the way. To cure this toothache of the spirit, the simple formula of handling oneself and one's will over to God. The problem was dismissed by telling the housewife she doesn't realize how lucky she is. Her own boss, no time clock, no junior executive gunning for her job. What if she isn't happy? Does she still think men are happy in this world? Does she really secretly still want to be a man? Does she not know how lucky she is to be a woman? The problem was also and finally dismissed by shrugging that there are no solutions. This is what being a woman means, and what is wrong with American women is that they can't accept their role gracefully. As Newsweek put it March 7th, 1960. She is dissatisfied with a lot that women of other lands can only dream of. Her discontent is deep, pervasive, and impervious to the superficial remedies which are offered at every hand. An army of professional explorers have already charted the major sources of trouble. From the beginning of time, the female cycle has defined and confined a woman's role. As Freud was credited with saying, quote, "Anatomy is destiny." Though no group of women has ever pushed these natural restrictions as far as the American wife, it seems that she cannot accept them with good grace. A young mother with a beautiful family, charm, talent, and brains is apt to dismiss her role apologetically. "What do I do?" you hear her say. "Why, nothing. I'm just a housewife." A good education, it seems, has given this paragon among women an understanding of the value of everything except her own worth. And so she must accept, that's end quote there. And so she must accept the fact that American women's unhappiness is merely the most recent one of women's rights, and adjust and say with the happy housewife found by Newsweek, "We ought to salute the wonderful freedom we all have and be proud to live our lives today. I have had college, I've worked, but being a housewife is the most rewarding and satisfying role. My mother was never included in my father's business affairs. She couldn't get out of the house away from us children, but I am an equal to my husband. I can go along with him on business trips and to social business affairs." End quote. The alternative offered was a choice that few women could contemplate. In the sympathetic words of the New York Times, quote, "I'll admit to being deeply frustrated at times, but the lack of privacy, the physical burden, the routine of family life, the confinement of it. However, none would give up her home and family if she had the choice to make again." Redbook commented, quote, "Few women would want to thumb their nose at husbands, children, and community and go off on their own. Those who do may be talented individuals, but they rarely are successful women." End quote. The American women's discontent boiled over. It was also reported that more than 21 million American women who are single, widowed, or divorced do not cease even after 50, their frenzied, desperate search for a man. As the search begins early, for 70% of all American women now marry before they are 24, a pretty 25-year-old secretary took 35 different jobs in 6 months in the futile hope of finding a husband. Women were moving from one political club to another, taking evening courses in accounting or sailing, learning to play golf or ski, joining a number of churches in succession, going to bars alone in their ceaseless search for a man. Sorry, my eye is just like watering out the side of itself. Of the growing thousands of women currently getting private psychiatric help in the United States, the married ones were reported dissatisfied with their marriages, the unmarried ones suffering from anxiety and finally depression. Strangely, a number of psychiatrists stated that in their experience, unmarried women patients were happier than married ones. So the door of all those pretty suburban houses opened a crack to permit a glimpse of uncounted thousands of American housewives who suffered alone from a problem that suddenly everyone was talking about and beginning to take for granted, as one of the unreal problems in American life that can never be solved, like the hydrogen bomb. But 1962, the plight of the trapped American housewife had become a national parlor game. Whole issues of magazines, newspaper columns, books, learned and frivolous, educated conferences, and television panels were devoted to the problem. Even so, most men and some women still did not know that this problem was real. But those who had faced it honestly knew that all the superficial remedies, the sympathetic advice, the scolding words, and the cheering words were somehow drowning the problem in unreality. A bitter laugh was beginning to be heard from American women. They were admired, envied, pitied, theorized over until they were sick of it, offered drastic solutions or silly choices that no one could take seriously. They got all kinds of advice from the growing armies of marriage and children's guidance counselors, psychotherapists, and armchair psychologists on how to adjust their role as housewives. No other road to fulfillment was offered to American women in the middle of the 20th century. Most adjusted to their role and suffered or ignored the problem that had no name. It can be less painful for a woman not to hear the strange, dissatisfied voice stirring within her. It is no longer possible to ignore that voice, to dismiss the desperation of so many American women. This is not what being a woman means, no matter what the experts say. For human suffering, there is a reason. Perhaps the reason has not been found because the right questions have not been asked or pressed far enough. I don't accept the answer that there is no problem because American women have luxuries that women in other times and lands never dreamed of. Part of the strange newness of the problem is that it cannot be understood in terms of the age-old material problems of man: poverty, sickness, hunger, cold. The women who suffered this problem have a hunger that food cannot fill. It persists in women whose husbands are struggling interns and law clerks or prosperous doctors and lawyers, in wives of workers and executives who make $5,000 a year or $50,000. It's not caused by lack of material advantages. It may not even be felt by women preoccupied with the desperate problems of hunger, poverty, or illness, and women who think it will be solved by more money, a bigger house, a second car, moving to a better suburb, often discover it gets worse. It's no longer possible today to blame the problem on loss of femininity, to say that education and independence and equality with men have made American women unfeminine. I have heard so many women try to deny this dissatisfied voice within themselves because it does not fit the pretty picture of femininity the experts have given them. I think, in fact, that this is the first clue to accept the mystery. The problem cannot be understood in the generally accepted terms by which scientists have studied women. Doctors have treated them, counselors have advised them, and writers have written about them. Women who suffer this problem and whom this voice is stirring have lived their whole lives in the pursuit of feminine fulfillment. They are not career women, although career women may have other problems. They are women whose greatest ambition has been marriage and children. For the oldest of these women, these daughters of the American middle class, no other dream was possible. The ones in their 40s and 50s who once had other dreams gave them up and threw themselves joyously into life as housewives. For the youngest, the new housewives and mothers, this was the only dream. They are the ones who quit high school and college to marry, or marked time in some job which they had no real interest until they married. These women are very feminine in the usual sense, yet they still suffer the problem. Are the women who finished college the women who once had dreams beyond housewifery, the one who suffer the most? According to the experts they are, but listen to these 4 women. My days are all busy and dull too. All I ever do is mess around. I get up at 8, I make breakfast, I do the dishes, have lunch, do some more dishes, and some laundry and cleaning in the afternoon. Then it's supper, dishes, and then I get to sit down a few minutes before the children have to be sent to bed. That's all there is to my day. It's just like any other wife's day. Humdrum. The biggest time, I'm chasing kids. Ye gads. Oh, this is another lady here. Egads, what do I do with my time? Well, I get up at 6, I get my son dressed and give him breakfast. After that, I wash dishes and bathe and feed the baby. Then I get lunch while the children nap. I sew or mend iron, and I do all the other things I can't get done before noon. Then I cook supper for the family, and my husband watches TV while I do the dishes. After I get the children to bed, I set my hair, and then I go to bed. The problem is always being the children's mommy or the minister's wife, and never being myself. The first 2 women never went to college. They lived in developments in Levittown, New Jersey, and Tacoma, Washington, and were interviewed by a team of sociologists studying working men's wives. The third, a minister's wife, wrote on the 15th reunion questionnaire of her college that she never had any career ambitions, but wished now that she had. The fourth, who had a PhD in anthropology, is today, I skipped that one. Sorry, it was too long. But the fourth woman who is very important in her life, she had a PhD in anthropology, is today a Nebraska housewife with 3 children. Their words seem to indicate that housewives of all educational levels suffer the same feeling of desperation. The fact is that no one today is muttering angrily about women's rights, even though more and more women have gone to college. In a recent study of all the classes that have graduated from Barnard College, a significant minority of earlier graduates blame their education for making them want rights. Later classes blame their education for giving them career dreams, but recent graduates blame the college for making them feel it was not enough to simply be a housewife and a mother, and they did not want to feel guilty if they did not read books or take part in community activities. But if education is not the cause of the problem, the fact that education somehow festers in these women may be a clue. If the secret of feminine fulfillment is having children, never have so many women with the freedom to choose had so many children in so few years so willingly. If the answer is love, never have women searched for love with such determination. And yet there is a growing suspicion that the problem may not be sexual, although it must somehow be related to sex. I heard from many doctors evidence of new sexual problems between man and wife. Sexual hunger in wives so great their husbands cannot satisfy it. Quote, "We have made women a sex creature," said the psychiatrist at Margaret Sanger Marriage Counseling Clinic. Quote, "She has no identity except as a wife and mother. She does not know who she is herself. She waits all day for her husband to come home at night and make her feel alive, and now it's the husband who is not interested. It's terrible for the women to lie there night after night, waiting for her husband to make her feel alive. Why is there such a market for books and articles offering sexual advice? The kind of sexual orgasm which Kinsey found in statistical plentitude in the recent generations of American women does not seem to make this problem go away. On the contrary, new neuroses are being seen among women, and problems yet unnamed as neuroses, which Freud and his followers did not predict, with physical symptoms, anxieties, and defense mechanisms equal to those caused by sexual repression. And strange new problems are being reported in the growing generations of children whose mothers were always there, driving them around, helping them with their homework, an inability to endure pain or discipline or pursue any self-sustained goal of any sort, a devastating boredom with life. Educators are increasingly uneasy about the dependence, the lack of self-reliance, of boys and girls who are entering college today. Quote, "We fight a continual battle to make our students assume manhood," said the Columbia dean. A White House conference was held on the physical and muscular deterioration of American children. Were they being over-nurtured? Sociologists noted the astounding organization of suburban children's lives. The lessons, the parties, entertainments, play, and study groups organized for them. A suburban housewife in Portland, Oregon wondered why the children need brownies and Boy Scouts out here. Quote, "This is not," good Lord, "this is not the slums. The kids out here have greater outdoors. I think people are so bored they organize the children and then try to hook everyone else on it. And the poor kids have no time left to just lie on their beds and daydream." Can the problem that has no name be somehow related to the domestic routine of the housewife? When a woman tries to put the problem into words, she often merely describes the daily life she leads. But what is there in this recital of comfortable domestic detail that could possibly cause such a feeling of desperation? Is she trapped simply by the enormous demands of her role as a modern housewife? Wife, mistress, mother, nurse, consumer, cook, chauffeur, expert on interior decoration, childcare, appliance repair, furniture refinishing, nutrition, and education. Her day is fragmented as she rushes from the dishwasher to washing machine to telephone to dryer to station wagon to supermarket and delivers Johnny to the Little League field, takes Janie to dance class and gets lawnmower fixed, and meets the 6:45. She can never spend more than 15 minutes on any one thing. She has no time to read books, only magazines, and if she had time, she's lost the power to concentrate. At the end of the day, she is so terribly tired that sometimes her husband has to take over and put the children to bed. This terrible tiredness took so many women to the doctor in the 1950s that one decided to investigate it. He found, surprisingly, that his patients suffering from housewife fatigue slept more than any adult needed to sleep, as much as 10 hours a day, and that the actual energy they expended on housework did not tax their capacity. The real problem must be something else, he decided, perhaps boredom. Some doctors told their women patients that they must get out of the house for a day, treat themselves to a movie in town. Others prescribed tranquilizers. Many suburban housewives were taking tranquilizers like cough drops. Quote, "You wake up in the morning and you feel as if there's no point in going on another day like this, so you take a tranquilizer because it makes you not care so much that it's pointless." End quote. It's easy to see the concrete details that trap the suburban housewife, the continual demands on her time, but the chains that bind her in the trap are chains in her own mind and spirit. They are chains made up of mistaken ideas and misinterpreted facts, of the incomplete truths and unreal choices. They are not easily seen and not easily shaken off. How can any woman see the whole truth within the bounds of her own life? How can she believe the voice inside herself when it denies the conventional accepted truths by which she has been living? And yet the women I have talked to who are finally listening to that inner voice seem in some incredible way to be groping through to a truth that has defied the experts. I think the experts in great many fields have been holding pieces of that truth under their microscopes for a long time without realizing it. I found pieces of it in certain new research and theoretical developments in psychological, social, and biological science, whose implications for women seems never to have been examined. I found many clues by talking to suburban doctors, gynecologists, obstetricians, child guidance clinicians, pediatricians, high school guidance counselors, college professors, marriage counselors, psychiatrists, and ministers, questioning them not on their theories, but on their actual experience in treating American women. I became aware of a growing body of evidence, much of which has not been reported publicly because it does not fit current modes of thought about women. Evidence which throws into question the standards of feminine normality, feminine adjustment, feminine fulfillment, and feminine maturity by which most women are still trying to live. I began to see in a strange new light the American return to early marriage and large families that are causing population explosion, the recent movement to natural childbirth and breastfeeding, suburban conformity, and new neuroses, character pathologies, and sexual problems be reported by the doctors. I began to see new dimensions to old problems that have long been taken for granted among women: menstrual difficulties, sex frigidity, promiscuity, pregnancy fears, childbirth depression, the high instance of emotional breakdown and suicide among women in their 20s and 30s, the menopause crisis, the so-called passivity and immaturity of American men, the discrepancy between women's tested intellectual abilities in childhood and their adult achievement, the changing incidence of adult sexual orgasm in American women, and persistent problems in psychotherapy and women's education. If I'm right, the problem that has no name stirring in the minds of so many American women today is not a matter of the loss of femininity or too much education or the demands of domesticity. It is far more important than anyone realizes. It is the key to other new and old problems which have been torturing women and their husbands and children and puzzling their doctors and educators for years. It may well be the key to our future as a nation and a culture. We can no longer ignore that voice within women that says, "I want something more than my husband and my children and my home." End quote. And that's the end of the first chapter. The next chapter is called The Happy Housewife Heroine. So, okay, that is the Feminine Mystique, at least the first chapter. Oh yeah. Somebody just said like a lot of men were obstetricians. Oh yeah, doctor schedules C-sections around their tea time for golf. Yeah. Okay. So that was a lot for us to digest. But thank you for sticking around for those of you who listened. And thank you for spending a little time with me here on this Saturday. We do have a Patreon reading coming out tomorrow. And it is the non-romance reading. And we voted on your spiritual and psychic gifts. And that was a fun one. So that'll be up tomorrow. I think I'm going to leave that there. Okay. She's depressed. How about a lobotomy? Yo. Thank you. Okay. So I guess we'll keep reading that until we bump into something that, we decide. We'll decide together how we proceed. But yeah. Okay. Also, we sell candles. It's kind of that time of year. We'll drop the link in the description if you are at all interested. And I think I'm going to leave that there. Okay. Bye, guys.